after Strongdon finally. Ethan Warren gives him no space. He's in the wall. He's in the wall. Turn point. He's taken out Bruce Dean as well. Oh, big moment there. Kurt Stenberg on his roof.
Big crash in turn 4. That is unfortunate. Huge crash. Final corner, that's the death!
A very good evening to you wherever you're watching around the country or indeed the world, and welcome to the 5th round of the 2022 Automobilista Supercars Championship, coming to you from Winton Motor Raceway here in Victoria. My name's Stairs, and contrary to what that graphic says, unfortunately Liam Harrison, Madbird, on the sick list tonight. And so joining me at short notice is Matt Dunlop. Very much a warm welcome to you, Matty. How are you?
I'm great. G'day, Stairs, and g'day, everyone. It's been a long time between drinks, but I'm finally back in front of a microphone and very keen to call some great racing action tonight from Winton.
Now, I've done you a mischief and didn't have your microphone on that scene. I thought I checked it all, but let me just let me just go to a scene where we have got you. Can you try this one for me?
Hello, I'm back. Can you hear me?
There we go. Apologies there. This is your second chance at the introduction there, so apologies for you gremlins in the system. Totally my fault. We don't normally have audio pumped in from Discord on the opening scene.
That is all good. It's great to be here. I was just saying it's been ages since I've commentated anything live, whether virtual or at a racetrack. But now I'm back at it again, and I'm really looking forward to it. Going to have some great racing action here at Winton, hopefully. Absolutely.
It's been 3 years, I believe, since we were in Winton, and going into this race, I've just been looking forward to it. Poor old Madbird has been looking forward to it too, and just, last minute, had to call in sick, so very unfortunate for him, but what's his loss is your gain.
And the good news is we do still have Madbird hanging out in the chat, letting us know that, yes, he could hear me the first time. So We're having a great start to this broadcast, but isn't that part of the fun, Stairs?
There you go. I must have not scrolled far enough down the list of audio mixer assets. We did have some issues getting the sound working for the game. Such OBS things. But let's quickly go through the points classification heading into this round of the championship. It is Dane Warren leading the way with a perfect 1,400 points out of an available 1,400 points. He has his brother in second place on 1148. Colin Warwick having a fantastic season. He is in third place. And then Kurt Stenberg, the defending champion, rounds out the 4 cars that have over 1,000 points. Hans Brunswick in 5th place. I believe he's absent tonight, so a bit unfortunate that he won't be able to continue his terrific run of form and keep himself inside the top 5. Corey McFarlane in 6th place. He's going from strength to strength. Had some good recovery drives lately. Benjamin Dahlia in 7th, and then we've got Zach Baker, the first of the ZB guys, down there in 8th place. Alex Cattle in 9th place on 785 points. And Steve Warwick in the top 10. That's a good result for him so far in this championship. And Maddie, we're going to turn our attention now to the teams points classification, which is further along. Oh, no, maybe it's not here. Okay. Fair enough. Maybe I am pressing the wrong button. We are having some technical issues tonight. All right, so never mind. It doesn't look like we have the points for you. Apologies for that, but we'll endeavour to get you action from the track very, very shortly indeed. So, well, what is your... what was the last time you commentated on this series, Matty?
The last time I commentated on ASC, it would have been Bathurst 2020, I reckon. Going through my old bookmarks from trying to find the live timing and whatnot for this, the last thing I would have done was, Bathurst 2020, which was a hell of a fun time. I'm sure you and Madbird and a lot of other viewers will fondly remember me pouring boiling water down my throat through team camp.
Did that make the Bathurst broadcast, or was that just on the Apex rear wing? We replayed it.
I'm pretty sure I made it specifically for... Oh, I don't know. Oh, that's right, because I made the package with the whiteboard with Jake, my wonderful assistant, to hold it up for me for the Bathurst broadcast.
A classic.
Can't remember if the Tim Tam made it into that one as well, but it's out there somewhere, and it's honestly one of my finest moments.
Yes. Well, you know, we found out that neither of you had done the incredibly Australian thing of doing a Tim Tam slam, so that had to be rectified, didn't it?
It did, and totally fair enough, and I went about it completely the wrong way. Next time, for sure, I'll probably put a little bit of milk in it first before I try and drink scalding water.
Yes,
but yeah,
directly out of the kettle.
I feel like a lot of my experiences with commentary with either AST or Apex Rear Wing have revolved around biscuits, and I don't know. That's not something I'd be mad about if that is the case. I do like a good biscuit.
Oh, I'm with you there. Perhaps we did have that straw poll going on a few years ago on the Apex Rear Wing Facebook page of what was your favourite type of biscuit, and there were some surprises in that, to be sure.
That's right. I'm not sure if we ran that straw poll through the ASC audience, but I'd be keen to know how many people watching agree with me that the Kingston is the best biscuit in the Arnott's assorted tray.
There was some, what's the word I'm looking for? Some passionate debate, I think, about such things. I think it was up against the Monte Carlo, if I'm not wrong.
It was Monte Carlo. I think the cream shortbread made it in there as well. All great biscuits, but they're not the best unless they're the Kingston.
So 2020, it's been a year and a half since you've had the pleasure of looking at the kind of field. Since you've done that, we've had Kurt Stenberg win another championship, and we've had Colin Warwick and Ethan Warren win another Bathurst. We've had some new people come in. We've had Corey McFarlane, Kurt Stenberg. Kurt Stenberg's not a new person, but Luke Rosella had a very strong year last year. He was just starting out, I believe, in ASC when you commentated on the Bathurst race in 2020.
He was. Yeah, there's quite a few recognisable names here that I do remember, and a lot of brand new ones. All the cars have changed since I last played, or since I last saw them, of course, so I'll have to probably spend a bit of time committing the liveries to memory.
Exactly. Well, the one on screen here, one that you'll want to commit to memory, this is the ever-present Tim Hortons Canadian Tire Maple Leaf Sports Sim Sports Cameron Parrott car. Suitably,
I love it.
Suitably painted in red and beige. Just fantastic, that one.
Red and beige is a colour combination that is sorely underrated. You don't see it anywhere near as often. I suppose you don't see beige on cars.
Well,
Haven't
I think
seen that very much since the 1980s, hey?
Yeah, beige gets a bad rap. And
I agree.
You know, sure, on its own, it's a boring colour. A little bit, you know, reminiscent of a filing cabinet. But when when paired with the red...
Filing cabinets are sick, though. I rate them.
That Dunlop 2022. Filing cabinets are sick. I rate them.
Car colours used to be so much better. I don't know if you've played like Gran Turismo or anything like that, but a few of the older installments that had tons and tons of old cars, it actually had all the original paint options those cars would come in, and like you'd boot up like a Plymouth Barracuda or something like that, and you'd have 50 different shades of just all manner of colours, plenty of beiges and browns and stuff that doesn't belong on a car these days, but also like neon green and purple from the factory. And these days it's like, you know, you get black, you get white, you get metallic red if you're lucky.
I hate how safe the colour choices have become these days.
I really hate, my least favourite by far, and this is a hill that I will die on, is that I don't know what you call it, but it's like a cross between silver and really faint blue. It's like there's silver or grey even. It's like grey and blue were transported in the same truck together, and it just looks like primer with a top coat on it. And I hate it so much. And you see it on every car, and I'm getting so mad. We've like 5 minutes into the broadcast, and I'm just making myself real mad here.
Well, you know, beige is no longer available as a car colour, and maybe it should be. You know.
Imagine rocking up to a paint shop with like your Porsche 911, and like, I want to get sprayed. Oh yeah, what are you looking for? Beige. Maybe get some metal flake through it as well. That'd be pretty cool.
Metal flake, and well, you know, they didn't have that in the 80s, so you know that could be added. I learned to drive in a Corolla that was two-tone beige and bottle green.
Oh, I love that so much.
And it's funny how much you take it for granted at the time, because I grew up with this being the car that my parents drove, and once they sold it, we realised I didn't have any photos of it.
Oh no!
I know. So I would have loved to. Ooh. As we just see RSM Latino in the back of that shot going a bit wide. I would have loved to have some pictures of this car to remember it by, because I didn't know my parents were that close to selling it. I came home from school one day and it was gone.
Oh, what a shame that is. I remember Mum was telling me her first car was a Valiant of some description, and I was so sad when she told me that, and that she didn't have any photos. And the fact that she, like, obviously you wouldn't expect to hold on to a Valiant for any longer than the 1990s, realistically, if you owned one back in the day. But like, every time I see one drive past, it's like, yeah, those things are so cool. I just love old cars, especially old shit cars, you know?
I'm with you there, Matt Dunlop. Got a couple of old friends in the live chat, of course. We mentioned Madbird, who goes by the name Two Awful Guys. He's straight in there on his biscuit choice. Kingston's, well, he says a word there, which I've said on the broadcast before, but let's try and get more than 10 minutes in before I start putting S-bombs here and there.
Oh, sorry, I already ticked that box.
Oh, yeah, I think you did, didn't you? But, well, I'm going to try and hang out a little bit longer before I do that. Roadies Racing, Ben Rhodes, the classic
#Rhodium.
Is that the voice of Cricket Australia? Now, since you commentated for us last time, you've been very, very busy on the socials for Cricket Australia. Do you want to tell us about what's going on there?
Yeah, absolutely. So just before the start of the last summer of cricket, I came on board as a social media producer for the Big Bash League. So if you ever see some absolute trite being pumped out of the official BBL channel, you can thank me directly, because I'm probably the one who photoshopped it that day. But they've also had me on doing a little bit of voice and video action. So with after the Big Bash finished, and during our like autumn and winter, our Aussies have been off playing in Pakistan. The girls went over and played in the World Cup in New Zealand, did very well there. Aussies, the men actually did pretty well too. They won the Pakistan tour. And now the IPL's happening. So whenever there's been really interesting stuff happening, I have been tasked with making 90-second highlight videos of each day's play or each match's play that have gone out on cricket.com.au. So if you see a video on the website that goes for exactly 1 minute 30, and it's about Australians doing well overseas, and it's come out recently, since about March. Oh, there's a big moment for Dane Liccardo.
That was a very big moment there. We'll see if we can catch a replay of that while you finish that story.
Yeah, basically, if you see one of those, I've produced it and I've done the voiceover for it and all that fun stuff. And yeah, so Cricket Australia, that's where I'm at the moment.
Well, congratulations on getting that a fantastic role.
Whoa, that was a big moment.
Yeah, I think he was avoiding the slowing, I believe that's Ethan Warren. I might be wrong. Could be Kurt Stenberg, one of the TTR cars anyway. Ethan Warren doesn't appear to be in the server yet, so it must have been Kurt Stenberg.
I'm just slicing through some cars trying to find it, and Dodger's nearly cleaned up the tyre bundle at turn 2 there. He's warped back to the garage as Kurt Stenberg flies through there now, as we still look at Cameron Parrott's beautiful Tim Hortons car. But
yeah, we'll see if we can get images of what happened to Dodger there. Always a crowd favourite, and oh, that's frozen on me. Oh, there we go. So we just caught the end of that. We'll replay that. So he was coming into turn 1 and locked the rears.
Yeah.
I think he left his braking way too late, or either that or had his brake bias far too backward. And
yeah, maybe he's still toying around with his setup at the moment, trying to get the right bias, and just missed his brake point and, yeah, jammed them on.
So Dodger, one of a few wildcards we've got in here from Super 2. Couple of notable absentees. Hans Brunswick not able to make it. A few others I saw in Discord mentioning that they had some last-minute dramas that meant that they couldn't make it. It's not a driver's favourite, let's say that, Winton Motor Raceway, but I've been going on about this for years because we've missed this race for the last 2 seasons, and it produced one of the most exciting rounds we saw in 2019. So I've been waiting for this to come back, and I'm glad to see nearly a full grid, 18 cars so far, and potentially more to come.
It's a brilliant little track, isn't it? It's so tight and twisty and technical, but it's also perfectly suited for these 700 horsepower supercars somehow. It's just, and it's a little gem. It's the only issue that I have with it is that it's in the middle of nowhere in the physical realm. It takes ages to get there. I had to miss the real life supercars round this weekend just gone because I was in the middle of moving house. But it's, yeah, awesome track. I've been there quite a few times to cover Victorian State Series racing in the flesh, and driving it on the simulator is not easy because you've got to really string that first and second sector together quite well. That long sweeping left-hander that goes into turn whatever it is. I don't actually have the track map in front of me. That's something I've missed out on as I'm getting prepared for this. And then
we'll have to catch an onboard lap with someone in a moment before we go into qualifying.
We will, and hopefully I can pull up the racingcircuits.info. Not an official sponsor, but I hope they sponsor me because I use them so much. I'll have to pull up the circuit map so I can refer to the corner numbers and whatnot. But yeah, I love this track. It's brilliant.
Now we just saw in the back of the previous shot the Tim Hortons car going wide, and that was two wheels in the grass. Where is that? Is that coming up to turn 6, I think?
Oh.
And nearly hitting Kenton's sights, and good awareness there to not drive directly into Alex Cattle, who was just coming around the right-hander at that moment, as he finally found a gap to rejoin. The cars were quite evenly spaced apart, so he did find that quite difficult as he now goes past one of the ZB cars who
Thomas taking his parking spot.
Looks to have done exactly the same thing on the next lap. That's right.
Oh, brilliant. Do you reckon he's having a chuckle to himself as he rolls past turn 7 like that?
I
seeing
think
him?
so.
I would.
It's tricky that the middle sector, the part that, you know, the cleavage or the bunny ears, whatever you want to call it, those corners are just very, very tricky. You're always kind of waiting to get back on the throttle. And I think it rewards a patient driver.
I do love the name The Cleavage, though. I love how much it permeates within the whole motorsport landscape. I was always hesitant to call it that until I was sitting next to the great Darren Smith in the commentary box over there for the State Series, and he exclusively called it that. So, yeah,
I love it.
I've got no qualms doing so now.
If he can say that, then I think it's official, really.
I think so. The Oracle on Victorian motorsport himself.
And who else? Who else would you trust with corner names? Someone who's probably driven most of them himself and commentated on them many times.
Oh, I'm pretty sure Aaron Noonan said the same thing when I was working with him there too. Because I was there for Shannon's Nationals broadcast in 2019, and I was in the box with Darren Smith and Noons, and I think Chad Nayland was there. And yeah, Cleavage. 100%. So I think it's certified. Speaking
of Chad Nayland, we had that now infamous moment with Chad Nayland and Brian Ingerson in the pit lane at Barbagallo, and Kurt Stenberg just stumbling into the interview. Did you happen to catch that moment?
Oh, I saw a screenshot, and I think I might have glanced past it, but I don't think I actually watched it. What happened?
Well, it was on their, I believe it was a live stream on their YouTube sort of before the day's action began on the second day at the Barbagallo round, and they were doing a bit of a pit lane walk and, you know, talking to some team bosses and just some fans who were milling about in the pit lane, and all of a sudden they spot a wild Kurt Stenberg in the pit lane and, you know, talked about his E-Series commitments in the past and whether he's planning to do it again, and it was very entertaining viewing for all involved.
Oh, there you go. I'm glad, because I had a similar experience, not to one-up him, but like I've had the Supercars TV crew bump into me and ask me questions, and I'm glad at least one of us had a positive experience out of that. So good to hear Kurt got a bit of airtime and it went well for him.
Absolutely, yeah, and it was a bit of a blast from the past moment because they managed to dig up an old clip of Kurt Stenberg when he was about 12 years old, being interviewed by Brian Ingerson on one of those old kind of V8 supercar, you know, weekend shows as well, which was a bit of a surprise too.
Oh, did the producer have it ready to go while he was talking to them?
No, they didn't have it on there, but Bryony put it on her Instagram later that day. So it was quite Quite funny, actually. It was all the talk after last ASC round in the Discord afterwards.
Gonna have to go for a scroll and have a look at that. Speaking of going for a scroll, RSM Latino is going for a stroll through the meadow here. It's parked off turn 5. Let's have a look at how he got there. This is back going through the turn 1 and 2 chicane.
Yeah, so he's taken a shortcut to turn 5 from turn 1, has he? Oh no, he's just
it looks like he's yeah, I'm not sure what he's doing. He's just sort of parked it up, not enough. Maybe he's got a check engine light. Let's have a look.
Back to the pits for him. And there
Good
he
place
is.
to go. There you go.
There you go. There you go. Very good. Now we'll just pick up Kurt Stenberg because he's coming down the kind of the back straight. About to, if you can call this a back straight, about to start a lap, and we'll just remind you of this racetrack. Hopefully we get this in before the practice session rolls over. But here's the start-finish straight, down into turn 1, hitting the anchors there, looked about 150, 125 metres. Lots of curve on the inside there, out of the exit of 2, down to the double right-hander at 3 and 4, and I think that's as much of that lap as we're going to get. I should have done that a bit earlier.
I didn't want to burst your bubble because he sounded really enthusiastic, but I saw the timer tick over as he was going through turn 11, and I knew that he wasn't going to be able to finish that lap. So, unfortunately, we'll have to wait until qualifying to get a good onboard shot.
Yeah, well, I've had a practice of half of the first sector anyway. So, that was practice. Colin Warwick leading the timesheets with a 122.1. No Dane Warren or Ethan Warren so far, so this could break the streak for the Warren brothers, who locked out podium positions in every single race so far this year. And well, it's an exciting prospect because it means someone else might have a chance, assuming they don't drop in.
Ooh, will they show up? That's the grand question. The atmosphere has gotten very tense all of a sudden, hasn't it, Stairs?
Well, you know, it's like it's that thing of, if they're not there, then that's an opportunity, and this is when everyone thinks, oh, I could get a win here, and that's when mistakes happen.
True, because I suppose the driver's standings, it's just, you can't really look at the sheet at the moment and go, oh, it's pretty easy to catch Dane Warren at this point, because he's won every single race so far this season. So, yeah, a win, absolutely, that could definitely be on the cards. I suppose a win's always on the cards, because you never know what's going to happen. Especially at a track like Winton, where stuff can go wrong and the tight and twisties at the start of the race. Obviously wouldn't want to wish misfortune onto anyone, but it happens, doesn't it?
Well, exactly right, and it would, if that does happen, it would remain one of the few races on our calendar that has not been won by a Warren, because in the first round that we went here back in 2019, or the first year that we went here in 2019, it was won by Jake Maloney on both occasions. Jake Maloney, who hasn't raced in this series for quite some time, so it means that it would be one of the few tracks not to have enjoyed success, not to have one of the Warren brothers enjoy success there, I should say.
I remember Jake Maloney is also one of those characters who would just not practice at all, would drop in occasionally for qualifying if he wanted to, or he would just come in at the start of the race and during the warm-up session and just blast the field whether he was starting at the front or not. So maybe Dane and Ethan have decided to do the same and just not qualify and then just jump onto the back of the grid once the race does start. We'll see what happens as we look at the map of the Winton Motor Raceway, Stairs.
Yeah, it's a short little bull ring, as you mentioned, 3 kilometres. The qualifying record set by Jake Maloney back in 2019 is a 1 minute 20.9. Here's the cleavage that we talk about, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Very, very technical section of the racetrack. And then into the last sector. A couple of kind of back straights, turn 11 and 12 to take you back onto the start-finish straight, and that is a lap of Winton Motor Raceway.
All the cars are pouring out of pit lane now. Well, they've already poured out, I should say, as a matter of fact, and they're all just trying to find a little bit of real estate in front of them to get some quick, clean laps in, because only 10 minutes in the session, it goes a lot faster than you think, especially if you make a little error here and there and you throw away what could otherwise be a perfectly good lap. So really, really tense times. I love this format because it's so short and punchy and it shakes up the field quite a bit.
Yeah, I think just 3 cars left in the pits and 1 making its way out at the moment, so that just leaves Corey McFarlane and David Nenadich not on the racetrack. Everyone else is on their outlap at the moment, and leading the way is Cameron Parrott to be the first man in qualifying to set a time. and he's just coming up to the last set of corners to start that lap about now.
So he's in a pretty good spot. He's got heaps of real estate in front of him. The next car up ahead is entering turn 3 now, so he is fine. He's swimming. This is exactly what he wants. As he jumps on the anchors down into turn 1. We'll take an onboard lap with him now. Goes through that first chicane, a great little chicane there. Those curbs you've got to be careful with because they might spew out in one direction or the other. Got to make sure the car's stable as well. This is a nice flowy little, it almost feels like a double apex corner how short it is, but it's just because the track's so short, it's 2 corners. A little bit of a straight here, get on the power early, try not to get 2 wheels in the grass, and really manage your grip well, get you set up right so you can take a lot of pace through this long sweeping right-hander of turn 5. The fast kink of turn 6, get stable on the brakes into the cleavage. Turn 7, as we head around a really slow corner, I think that's one of the slowest corners on the track. Around the gum tree, turn 8. Looking really good and tidy so far, isn't he, Cameron Parrott?
Yeah, he is. No major mistakes that I've seen so far. Good chance to get a banker lap in with the clear track that he knows he's going to get because he was the first man on track. A couple of people just in front who've come to the start or just doing their outlap at the moment, but I don't think he's going to have any problem with those guys. They're well ahead, so last major braking point coming up here down into turn 11. It's got to spot that little apex. Doesn't take too much curb, goes a little bit wide but not too bad, and then into the little cambered section of the final corner, taking it to the line, and the first time in this session will be a 1 minute 25.0. So that's the first time we've seen. A few other times coming through. We've had a purple sector in the middle for Luke Rosella. Colin Warwick's going to come to the line and take provisional pole here.
Bit of breaking news for you, Stairs, courtesy of the YouTube chat. Dane Warren has said, on the way to Germany. Otherwise, I would have jumped in. Considering it's Winton, though, I'd say I'm lucky. Is Dane Warren trying to tell us that he would not win Winton? Never mind the fact that he's won every other race so far this season. Either way, that's a confirmation that Dane Warren will not be racing this weekend. There's a free win on the cards for the rest of the field.
There you go. So that'll be presumably for some E-Series commitments overseas. He did do a bit of that last year, so we send our best wishes with Dane Warren on that aeroplane for more excitement in Europe.
Freddie Biggs has replied to him saying, never go anywhere you can't walk home from. Again, it would be pretty tough to walk home from Germany, but closest I've had is my housemate who had to walk home what would be a 45-minute drive from the CBD out to our suburbs. Walked, took him 4 hours, but he had Pokemon Go, so he was fine.
Oh, okay. Maybe that made it a longer walk if he was stopping to catch Pokemon all the time.
Oh, it would have felt like a breeze to him, knowing him. He's one of the only people I know who never stopped playing Pokemon Go.
Right. It was the summer of 2016 or whenever it was that thing was huge, and I don't know too many people who kept playing it more than a year later. Good on him.
Yeah.
To be fair, I did love me some Pokemon when I was a kid. Had all of the games, Blue, Gold, Silver, Crystal, Ruby.
Oh, yellow
Leaf
flag
green.
on the old pitch straight. Luke Rosella's pulled up. He may be letting some traffic through here. I'd say he is.
I think so. Getting out of the way. And he is currently the pole sitter. 121.9, not by too much there. He's got a 10th in hand over Colin Warwick. Kurt Stenberg in 3rd place. Alex Cattle in 4th. We've talked about Alex Cattle a bit this year. He's been, I think, the biggest improver from where he was in the previous seasons.
Not a huge amount of time for the rest of the drivers to improve here. 4 minutes 37 on the clock. There's been a local yellow flag in Sector 2 now. But while that's happening, Colin Warwick's looking pretty good. He's on a purple first sector, and he's up again in the second sector as well. So this could be a pretty good challenge for pole position right now.
Yeah, I think you're not wrong there. 29.3. It wasn't purple in the second sector, but still a green time. So it's down to the last couple of corners for Colin Warwick. Let's see what it is. He was absolutely rapid through that final corner. Let's see what the timing sheets say. And he's found pole position once again by 0.03 of a second. And Luke Rosella is just on his way into the pits. So he's going to come in, have a bit of a reset and see if he can counterpunch.
Colin Warwick is the first driver into the 121s this session. And the closest driver that isn't Luke Rosella is Kurt Stenberg, who is just over 9/10 off. So we might see a little bit of a flurry of times here. We're looking at Kurt Stenberg now as he rolls down the back straight and jumps on the anchors into the second last corner. He's not on for a quick time here. He's down, I'm not sure, I can't actually see the margin on your screen there. He's down.
I think he's just starting another lap. He's either on an out lap or he's had a track cut on that because the timer wasn't ticking up as it normally does. So this is going to be probably his last or second last attempt because he's not going to be able to come back into the pits and have another go after this lap. And he's got yellow flag, someone in the dust in front. Hopefully that doesn't balk or impede him too much. It's Corey McFarlane in the Master Foods car who does get out of the way, thankfully. And for the first sector, Kurt Stenberg is going to trip the timing beacon very shortly indeed. And it's a PB for him, but he's 4/10 off the fastest first sector we've seen tonight.
Still a bit of work to do there. We'll see if he can recover a little bit of time through sectors 2 and 3. Two wildly different sectors, of course. The super tight and twisty cleavage section on the run down towards... what turn is it? Where's my track map? Towards turn 10. And then sector 3 is just two straights, basically. So you'd have to have a pretty unique car setup and a pretty good skill set to be able to get both right. Up 3/10 from his personal best, but he's still down 7/10 off the pole position time. So this may not be the lap for Kurt Stenberg, but he will have at least one more chance.
Yeah, one person who's only going to have one or two chances is Corey McFarlane, who his time is by no means representative, 10 seconds off the pace. And so he's got to get a banker in. We're used to seeing him up pretty high in qualifying. And Kurt Stenberg can't improve his position, but he does chip away at the time, 0.2 of a second better than his previous lap.
Luke Rosella's rounding the final corner now to get his flying lap underway with just over a minute 30 on the clock. So there will be 2 laps possibly in it for people crossing the line around about now, including Luke Rosella if he can keep it on full gas the whole time. Colin Warwick's in the... Oh, Colin Warwick is not in the same boat, but we'll get back to him later. He'll have a time on the go pretty soon.
Yeah, he's just on an out lap, I think, coming through the cleavage.
That's right, he is. So Luke Rosella's coming up.
Not on the...
No, through the cleavage. That's a very important distinction to make, and I'm glad that you did so. Luke Rosella's got a first sector split on the board. That's a handy change of topic. He's up on his personal best, but he's just marginally down on pole position time.
This could be tight.
Spicy.
And considering he's up by 0.2, but the gap was so small, that seems to point to these drivers having their strengths at different parts of the track.
Yeah, it could very well be. It's pretty marginal time, like pretty negligible in the hundredths as you look towards that first sector split, but he's about to cross the second beacon. Oh, 2,000! Wow! This is good.
It is going to be tight. It is going to be tight. Colin Warwick was rapid through the final corner. He absolutely just threw it at the scenery through there. Well, he threw it at the road. The scenery didn't see it. So how conservative or fast is Luke Rosella going to be through the final corner? Is that going to be the difference? And across the line, he manages it. He finds a 10th or so and is up by 88 milliseconds, thousandths of a second. And so Luke Rosella, return punch, return punch. This is fantastic stuff in qualifying. What does Colin Warwick have in response?
Time has elapsed. This is the last lap for everybody. Colin Warwick doesn't have it right now. He's down just over a 10th. This is, the tables have certainly tabled for Colin Warwick.
They've tabled. He's got to find an enormous amount of time in the middle sector and the final sector because it's a long way to recover. A 10th might not seem like long, but on this twisty short circuit, only 3 kilometres, 1 minute and 21 seconds, it's going to be very, very close indeed.
Oh, keep your eyes on Kurt Stenberg. He's just gone through the second beacon just ahead of Colin Warwick up the road, and he is only down 0.06 of a second off pole position right now. Could be an upset here from Stenberg. Oh, that's not a good line through the second last corner. Wonder how much time he'll there. He's going to be charging down.
Yeah, he had to get out of the throttle.
Front row, I would think. He crosses the line. Oh, 0.142 off pole position. He's down to third. Colin Warwick, what can he do? No, he can't improve either. Luke Rosella is on pole position unless somebody else can improve, but I don't think anybody else is in a place where they can do so at the moment.
Yeah, so Luke Rosella, or Kurt Stenberg had been dropped down to fourth, and that lap got him back up to third, so only a 10th separating first, second and third in the end. Luke Rosella, his lap that he just did was not faster than his pole time, but it was faster than Colin Warwick's fastest time. So he's actually done 2 times within that 88 milliseconds that would have been fast enough to put him on the first row of the grid, on the first position of the grid.
Well, first and second position go to Luke Rosella, apparently. That's how you dominate a qualifying session, and that is how you land yourself on pole for race 1.
Should that be a thing? If you set 2 laps that are fast enough to put you in pole position, then you just get an empty space next to you?
Oh, I like the idea, but I also don't like the idea of a really, really good qualifying specialist putting in 12 banker laps and just putting literal daylight between himself and the rest of the field. Oh, do you remember that? I don't know how much MotoGP you watched. Do you remember that one race? I think it was Germany a few years ago. It was changeable weather as they all went around on the siding lap. Jack Miller was the only rider to go out on slicks. The rest went out on wets, but it actually dried up during the lap. So they all peeled into the pits and they all had to start from the back of the grid. So they formed a second grid after the last spot, and Jack Miller started on pole position all by himself with about
I do remember that.
50 metres back to the rest of the field.
And I don't normally... I tend to watch the races and not the qualifying when it comes to MotoGP, so I had no idea what the hell was going on. It was very confusing. It was one of those sort of surreal things like Lewis Hamilton starting the race all by himself at Hungary last year, I think it was, when everyone else came in on the end of the formation lap to get rid of their wet tyres, and he stayed out. Just the you know, the build up with the sounds of the lights, beep beep beep. Where you normally get the chorus of 20 hybrid era Formula One car engines powering up, and it was just this pathetic sight of this single car.
Geez, you'd hate to stall, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you definitely want to maximise that start, especially knowing he had to come into the pits at the end of the lap.
Yeah, you'll want to find that clutch. Oh, true, he did. Oh, that's right, because he got the strategy wrong. It looked very impressive at the time. I remember that much.
All right, well, that's qualifying. So, as we mentioned, Luke Rosella on pole. He starts with Colin Warwick alongside him, so it could be either one of those two who shine tonight. Kurt Stenberg's not too far behind in 3rd place, and Alex Cattle rounds out the top 4 alongside Kurt Stenberg, so that's a good qualifying. Steve Warwick up in 5th place. Let me see if I can get the times here so we can just make a bit of a comparison, but just want to tie up some loose ends to see if we ended up getting laps in for everyone, and it looks like some people didn't get representative times. There we go. No, so Alex Cattle got a 122.6. The pole time a 121.866 from Luke Rosella. That is a qualifying record, and we haven't seen too many records be beaten this year because Dane Warren has most of them, and even though he has most of them, he hasn't himself been able to beat his own times from 2020. But because we didn't have a race here in 2020, the kind of the goalposts for the records were wide open, and so Jake Maloney's time of a 120.9. I beg your pardon. I've added a second to his time, so 121.866 from Luke Rosella doesn't beat Jake Maloney's 120.900 from 29. Disregard.
Either way, that's still a ripping effort from Luke Rosella. Well done, mate. A well-deserved pole position for him. And he'll be looking to add to his tally so far this season of 1 podium. I suppose he's only raced 4 races, hasn't he? So he's missed quite a few of the last rounds, and he's back in it again tonight at Winton, and he's winging for the fences straight away, and it's great to see.
So that is a fast time, and a close time as well at the front. So Steve Warwick starts in 6th place. He got a 123.1 ahead of Dane Liccardo. That is a terrific qualifying for Steve Warwick. I know he's been doing a bit of racing over in the ASR League and going from strength to strength there. So that practice is having fruit over is bearing fruit over here as well in the Automobilista Supercars Championship. So I pressed a button and it's put them out of qualifying order. There we go. Dane Liccardo, RSM Latino, David Nenadic, and then we had Cameron Parrott. Behind him, Brandon Dostal, Kai Jones, Brett Keenan Sykes, Claimbite, Stenny, Dodger, Spiro, and Corey McFarlane doesn't look like he actually got a representative lap time in. He's still stuck on his 1:32, so that's either he's had a spin or he just cruised around for a time that was 10 seconds off the pace there. We know Corey McFarlane's faster than that, so look out for another strong recovery drive from him through the field.
Yeah, didn't look to be lighting the speed trap on fire there either. Highest speed from that session was Zach Baker registering 228.4 at the trap, compared to Corey McFarlane 222.9. So not a huge difference, but he definitely wasn't on a burner when he went around for that record lap. So whether he got held up and whether he got spun out and had other issues. But that's what the qualifying format does, I suppose. It mixes things up a little bit, and it gives us crazy mixed up grids like the one that we have with us at the moment. But I suppose any grid is a bit of a crazy grid when it doesn't have when it doesn't have Dane and Ethan Warren in it.
It's an opportunity, and here are the particulars of tonight. The qualifying record there, 120.9, still held by Jake Maloney. And then we've got turns 6, 7 and 8, 9. A bit of an action zone there, especially after the tyres are kind of, feeling the heat after turns 5 and 6, those long sweepers. And so that is going to be the scene of the action tonight. So we'll take you through the grid just quickly now. We've got here Luke Rosella in pole position. Quite a fast warm-up lap here he's setting. Colin Warwick behind him. They're going almost at race pace. Kurt Stenberg in third, Zach Baker in fourth. We've got Alex Cackle there, Steve Warwick, as I mentioned, lining up in sixth place ahead of Dane Liccardo in the privateer car. RSM Latino, good job from him inside the top 10. David Nenadic, who wasn't with us for the previous round, he returns here and he's in ninth place ahead of Cameron Parrott. Another good qualifying for him inside the top 10. Brandon Dostal in 11th. Kai Jones lines up in 12th place ahead of Pratt. Keenan Sykes in 14th. Claimbite in 15th. Stenny in 16th. Dodger in 17th. Spiro in 18th. And as we mentioned, Corey McFarlane to start from the rear of grid.
Speaking of Cameron Parrott, do you want to hear a joke about parrots?
Go on.
What's orange and sounds like a parrot?
I don't know, Matty. What's orange and sounds like a parrot?
A carrot.
Well, we're off on the right foot tonight. That's I do like that.
You got to get the dumb stuff out of the way first, I feel, with broadcasts like
well,
these.
Yes,
otherwise,
absolutely.
they'll hit you when you least expect it.
Exactly, and who's going to be hit when they least expect it today? It's when you would expect it is in the first few corners, but there's going to be plenty of opportunities to be hit in this opening lap, but all throughout the 36 laps of this race.
Every time I see race cars go through this turn 1 and 2 section at Winton, it always blows my mind that they don't all clean each other up and die in a huge fireball, because it's wild. It blows my mind. But these guys are pretty capable. I reckon they can do it. And Corey McFarlane, has lined up at the back of the grid, and we're ready for a race start. All
right, so if everyone's lined up properly, we're going to get the lights very, very soon indeed. So we've got Luke Rosella on the right of that shot there, with Colin Warwick alongside him on the left. The revs are rising. And off they go. A drive-through penalty for jumping the start for David Nenadic. A great start from Kurt Stenberg, who's going to try, but there's no way through. Luke Rosella covers the inside. Colin Warwick went absolutely nowhere off the start. Luke Rosella's getting bumped a little bit from Kurt Stenberg, who's trying to make his case early for the lead of the race.
Oh, Luke Rosella got a big hurry up there from Kurt Stenberg, but he held his nerve beautifully, and he's doing quite well to hold on at the moment. Couple of cars going off in the background. Stenny's just spun. Somebody else has gone off as well. Not much action happening in the front in terms of accidents, though. We got local yellows, no safety car just yet, so this race is going on. Luke Rosella leads the train ahead of Kurt Stenberg, who's going for a big lunge, and that's how you assert dominance on the first lap. They've both driven wide, though, so that's given Colin Warwick a good chance to get mixed up, and now he's side by side with Luke Rosella.
Yeah, so it's sheep stations going on in the early part of this race. As you mentioned, a pretty clean start, just aside from Stenny, who went off down there. It looks like he kind of did it himself, broke himself down into turn 3, and then found himself spinning on the infield. So he's recovering down there in 19th place at the moment, as Luke Rosella has a look at Kurt Stenberg.
Well, isn't going to try and make a pass here just yet. Just going to sit behind Kurt and bide his time a little bit. It looks like he wants to get past him. He's trying to get a nose up the inside in the last corner there. But as they go down the main straight across the line to start lap 2, it'll be Stenberg, Rosella, Colin Warwick, Zach Baker, Steve Warwick, Dane Liccardo, Alex Cattle, Cameron Parrott, Arison Latino, and Brandon Dostal rounding out the top 10.
Corey McFarlane, has to be said, has done an absolutely mega start. He's up 8 positions from the back row of the grid up into 11th place. So that was terrific job to navigate all of the action that was going on down there. And David Nenadic has had some sort of issue that's dropped him behind Stenny down there in 19th place. So differing fortunes for those two as they slide their way through turns 5 and 6.
David Nenadic coming in to serve his drive-through penalty for jumping the start, I believe. So he's getting plumb last as a result. But yeah, what a start for Corey McFarlane. Now he's up to 10.
Rosella's wide. Warwick's got the outside line, but Rosella's going to sneak back in there. And the two black and blue cars going to be a bit black and blue from door-to-door action themselves here. This is going to allow Kurt Stenberg a little bit of breathing space if this keeps happening, but it's line astern, 1, 2, 3, Stenberg, Rosella and Warwick. Any one of these guys could win tonight.
Luke Rosella's laser focused once again. He's not looking in his mirrors at all at the moment. He's got eyes only for Kurt Stenberg, and he might have a pretty good chance here because they're both taking pretty similar lines, both on pretty similar pace at the moment. No one's able to break away. And what that means is we've got a brilliant scrap for first place between 3 cars here. As they cross the line to start lap 3, it's Stenberg, Rosella and Warwick in that lead group as they snake through turn 2.
Oh, great helicopter shot that we see of the leading trio. Steve Warwick leads a bunch of cars just behind in 4th place, so a good start from him ahead of Alex Cadlin. Dane Liccardo as Kurt Stenberg gets it all wrong, goes wide there and allows Luke Rosella past. And Luke Rosella had quite a few car lengths gap there as Colin Warwick got kind of balked behind Kurt.
All right, what can he do now? Luke Rosella's back in front. He had a slight gap there, but Kurt Stenberg made it up quite well in the braking zone for turn 6 there. So that lead has sort of evaporated a little bit, but Luke's still got some breathing space behind him. What can he do? Can he start to eke out a margin while Kurt Stenberg has Colin Warwick hounding him from behind?
So, Kurt Stenberg in 2nd place. He was the 3rd fastest qualifier. Luke Rosella, who was the pole sitter, he started on pole, got down to 2nd, down to 3rd at one point, now back up to 1st, so they'll want to stick with him. There, of course, will be the strategy element here with 2 compulsory pit stops to be served between now and lap number 34.
Fastest lap so far of the race, Luke Rosella, with a 1:22.997, so he's definitely quick out the front. He's got a little bit of a gap of around about 0.7 of a second floating around there. So this might be a little bit of a chance for him to break away. And yeah, like you said, we'll see how the strategy plays out once those pit stops start factoring in. Just want to tune in briefly to Corey McFarlane watch. He's now up to 8th. So that's 11 spots he's made up in 3 laps. That's brilliant from him.
Yeah, and I think he'll catch the gaggle in front of him. He made that position on Cameron Parrott in the ever-present Tim Horton's Maple Leaf Sim Sports car. And he's running well. Cameron Parrott in 9th place, but up ahead of Corey McFarlane is Dane Liccardo, who's in a train with Alex Cattle, Zach Baker, and Steve Warwick. So those guys are battling not too far up ahead, and there's opportunities aplenty, as you can see. So here is Dane Liccardo, who's putting Alex Cattle under a significant amount of pressure right now, and I think the pressure that Dane Liccardo is putting on Alex Cattle is actually meaning that they're dropping back a little bit from Steve Warwick and Zach Baker.
Great racing between these two though. Little bit of bump and run action, but not a huge amount, just enough, just a little bit of Morse code on the rear bumper, as I like to hear pretty often a lot of other commentators will use. Kurt Stenberg has now taken fastest lap at the front, meanwhile, with a 1:22.945. Not a huge improvement on what Luke Rosella had on the board just before, but now we've got a close battle. This is a 4-car train here for 4th place.
And the man we were just looking at, Corey McFarlane, had the fastest middle sector on the previous lap. So they're sharing it around. Colin Warwick with the fastest first sector on the previous lap. But Corey McFarlane is a man on a tear right now, and he's very, very quick through the cleavage.
Well, and he might have 4 spots here up for grabs as people start pitting and these guys keep battling it out. So I'll absolutely be keeping one eye on him. That's a big moment for Alex Cattle.
Yeah, he was very, very much out of shape down there into turn 7. So he managed to hang on to it. It was an incredible bit of car control. And it's probably cost him a couple of car lengths against Zach Baker there. Zach Baker, who is putting a bit of a move on here to try and get around the outside of Steve Warwick. Steve Warwick parking the car on the inside, on the middle of the track. Absolutely nowhere that Zach Baker can do. That's some very good defensive driving there.
Tenacious defense from Steve Warwick there. He's going to open the door a little bit for him though. Oh, that was a bit of a nudge into the penultimate corner there. Luke Rosella takes fastest lap. Never mind. Colin Warwick has got the fastest lap with a 1:22.8.
Yeah.
So that pack at the front, those 3 cars are still in pretty close touching distance at the moment.
Yeah, Kurt falling down into the clutches of Colin Warwick a little bit, and Luke Rosella has stretched a few car lengths away.
He certainly has. So Kurt Stenberg was, I think, trying to pull a bit of a gap there, but Colin Warwick, yeah, like you said, not letting him take any more inches than he absolutely can. Bit of 2-wheeled action from Zach Baker in 4th, smashing those curves, giving it full send, trying to keep it in 4th position at the moment, but he's got, like you said, a gaggle behind him. This is now a 5-car battle for 4th place. This is great.
Yeah, so Zach Baker getting the job done there on Steve Warwick, but Steve Warwick isn't letting Zach Baker drive off into the sunset. He's trying his very best to get that position back, and it is very much a case of do or get done here, as Alex Cattle and Corey McFarlane behind are ready to pounce on any mistakes that occur as Zach Baker gets it all sorts of sideways moments for Alex Cattle there. The tyres are screaming, and we're only 6 laps into this race as Dodger unfortunately gets a drive-through penalty, and he's looks like he's might be coming out of the pit lane. So I'm not sure if that's for speeding in the pit lane or for track cuts. It would be very early on in the race to get track cut penalty on lap 6.
It'd be very early unless he blasted through a chicane or something. He hasn't got any pit stops showing up so far on his timing screen, so track cuts would be my best bet so far. As Steve Warwick is still all over the back of Zach Baker here into turns 1 and 2. And, oh, geez, this is such a great battle. But those guys at the back, Dane Liccardo and Alex Cattle, will be licking their chops at the moment.
That is a fantastic shot we're seeing as... it's hard to tell which of these cars actually belongs at the front of this queue. Oh, there's a bit of a moment there for Steve Warwick, whether he missed a gear or just struggled to get the traction down, and it's put him under a huge amount of pressure from Corey McFarlane, as you saw Zach Baker just pull the car lengths away from Steve Warwick on that part of the racetrack. Oh, but Zach Baker's got it all wrong there and nearly chucked it at the scenery, 2 wheels on the grass, and somehow managed to hang on to it.
I think Zach Baker's creating a little bit of pressure for himself in his mind here. He had quite a bit of space behind him, didn't have to worry too much about chin music from Steve Warwick, but he kind of got it mixed up all on his own, but hasn't cost him much time because Steve Warwick is defending the absolute pants off this battle pack. Oh, actually Kurt Stenberg's gone a little bit wide there. He's held on to the place, but this is a great battle at the front here as well. Colin Warwick's got a great run. Is he going to have a lunge into turn 1 here? He's got a little bit more speed. Thinks better of it. Stays behind in 3rd for now. Luke Rosella still leads this race. Stenberg 2nd, Colin Warwick 3rd.
Crucially, Luke Rosella has a bit of a break at 1.2 seconds, and Colin Warwick needs to get past Kurt Stenberg. Although he does have a bit of a strategy ace up his sleeve. We've seen him run longer a little bit, and it's saved him time in the pits. We'll see what happens.
Got some lap traffic up ahead as well, which could mix things up, but we'll have a look back at this battle here. Zach Baker's still strong in 4th at the moment, and he's trying to pull a little bit of a gap. And
sorry to cut across you there, but I just had to cut back because the lap traffic having a bit of a problem there. It's Peter Stenberg who nearly caused a collision with his son Kurt Stenberg, and poor Colin Warwick really struggled to get past there as well, and he lost a huge amount of time. So, as you were.
That's blown it wide open now. Huge gaps between the top 3 cars. We'll see if those narrow back down at any time soon as we look at Kurt Stenberg going through turn number 10 now. These guys still have great pace, and pit stops will be fresh in their minds as they start thinking about what kind of strategy games to play. And what a shame about the lap traffic. We'll have a look at the replay of what happened further back in the pack.
Steve Warwick lost a bunch of positions as that was happening. He went wide at turn 5, and unfortunately he was driving very well. He was defending beautifully, and then he just bowled it wide onto the grass, and such was the density of that pack that he lost 3 or 4 positions with that one single mistake.
What that means now is, while Zach Baker is still in 4th position, Corey McFarlane is 5th. 14 spots up from where he started, and he's about to make a move for 4th here. Whoa. Zach Baker's going to make it go the long way around through turn 3. Whoa. Oh, there's a bit of a nudge. Oh,
yes,
they'll have to have a couple of words about that after the race, I reckon. But Corey McFarlane's calm. Zach Baker's nervous, I can tell here. Bit of a nudge there through turn 5. Zach Baker is doing his absolute darndest to hang on to that spot as long as he possibly can. Corey McFarlane, just strap yourself in, mate, and wait for it, because you might hand you this place on a silver platter here. Nah, Zach Baker's still got the line as they go through turn number 8, but this is a great scrap.
Baker's got no grip. I've seen him sailing wide of many apexes. He's taking a lot of speed into the corners to try to defend that position, but he's just all out wide onto the marbles on the exits, and you can see the car try and get away from him as he tries to put the power down. And the track is just so tight that Corey McFarlane isn't able to just get the slam dunk overtake done. And it's only a matter of time, I think. Corey's got to be patient. Dane Liccardo is lying in wait behind. You can see him just in the back of that shot. I think that Corey might be through there. They managed to get down the inside, down into the middle, into the corner there. Oh, and it looks like Dane Liccardo has lost out there, whether he got a nudge or just a little bit happy on the loud pedal, and he had to gather it up, and in doing so lost the position to Alex Cattle.
Yeah, I think it was just a bit of a conflagration there of all the drivers trying to find their place in that battle. They're all still in the black stuff now and keeping it nice and tidy so far as they approach the lap traffic of Stenny, so they've got to get around him if they want to keep this battle alive, and they do so quite well. So Stenny pulls right out of that battle. Great stuff there. Alex Cattle's going to have a look up the inside of Zach Baker through 5. You don't normally want to pass there too much unless you absolutely can.
No, it's a risky move as well, and he has actually opened the door there for Dane Liccardo. We do have a yellow flag here. Is there someone off down there? It looks like turn 16, David Nenadic has spun it around there. So teammate of the man we're looking at, Zach Baker.
Yeah, not a great race for David Nenadic, unfortunately. Had that jump start right from the go, had to serve a drive-through penalty, and that's basically written off his race from day dot, unfortunately.
Yeah, not good, unfortunately, for David Nenadic. It's started bad and it got worse from there.
Certainly did. I think this is a pretty good time to take stock now before everyone starts filing in for a huge amount of pit stops while we've got a slight amount of calm. So Luke Rosella leads this race by 1.5 seconds out the front as he goes through turn 3. Let's have a look at a replay first. Yeah, he just sort of lit up the rears, didn't he? That wasn't a braking thing. That wasn't a missed marker. I think he just put the boot in a little bit too much.
Yep. So, well, he'll have the second race, of course, to recover and try and have a bit of a better time of it, of course. But we'll cut back to our race leader here, who enjoys a lead of 1.3 seconds.
That's come down a couple of tenths since I last looked at the time, but still pretty comfortable for Luke Rosell ahead of Kurt Stenberg in second, who himself has a 2-second gap over Colin Warwick, who still hasn't recovered from that little bit of a... did he have an excursion earlier? I can't remember. But either way, this battle...
he got balked behind a bit of traffic when they were lapping Peter Stenberg.
Yeah. So he hasn't recovered that gap yet back, unfortunately, but pit stops are definitely something to keep in mind. 14 seconds behind, we've got Corey McFarlane, who is up a whopping 15 places from where he started. And I cannot sing enough praises about that performance so far. That's great stuff from him. He leads this micro battle pack here, ahead of Zach Baker, who's still doing pretty well, despite what seems to be a lack of grip on the tyres, or maybe he's just regained a little bit of composure. And he's keeping Dane Liccardo behind him in P6. Alex Cattle behind in 7th with Steve Warwick, who unfortunately dropped off this battle pack after an excursion of his own, down in 8th position. Cameron Parrott is in 9th, a further 3.5 seconds behind or thereabouts. And 10th place is still Brandon Dostal in the number 76 car.
That's right. So behind them, we are starting to... I did hear the pit lane siren, so we've got Alex Cattle in the pits. He's the first one to pull the trigger there. RSM Latino in 11th place. We've got Kai Jones there in 12th, having a bit of a lonely run there. Just 2 seconds ahead of the next car, which is Bratt. Acclaim by in 14th as well. Pretty equidistant gap between 2 cars, either in front and behind him. we've got Keenan Sykes in 15th, and the lap runners are Peter Stenberg, Dodger, David Nenadic, and Spiro. Oh, and someone I just saw spearing off. It's one of the ZB cars. Is it David Nenadic again, or is it Zach Baker this time?
I think it's Zach Baker. It is.
So Zach Baker as well. So a terrible night so far for both the ZB cars. Zach Baker, who was having that fight with Dane Liccardo, and he got a nudge.
That looked innocuous.
But yeah, was he going around anyway is the question. I don't think, on first look, I don't think that's Dane Liccardo's fault.
Yeah, I couldn't tell too much, but those tyre marks looked pretty uniform as they went circular off the side of the track, so I don't think there was any contact there. I think he just, his shoe was a little bit too heavy and he lit up those rears. So
yeah,
he's only lost
we
one
saw,
position.
we've been seeing him just light up the rears at every corner in the defence of that position. Here is the view from Dane Liccardo.
Oh, there is a bump.
There was a bump, but
was it the main factor? He did look to be
was he
at
going
a pretty
around anyway?
severe angle to start with. So
it was, you know, where's Dane meant to go at that point? I mean, I suppose
that's exactly right.
The throttle works both ways, as Martin Brundle says, but it's such a, you know, you've got a microsecond to make a decision there, and I mean, I call racing incident.
Yeah, I think racing incident's a pretty good way to evaluate what's happened there. It'll be interesting to see what the drivers say, but Zach Baker, look at him, he's just all over the place. Those tyres have nothing left in them. He's basically on the rims at this point. That's how slippery they are.
We're about a third of the way into the race, so it makes sense to come in and do your pit stop now. Corey McFarlane is the guy who's doing that right now. David Nenadic is also in the pits, and we've seen his trials throughout this race.
Yeah, so now he's in the garage, so he's done and dusted for the day, unfortunately, David Nenadic.
In fact, Corey McFarlane is a DNF as well, so that's not a pit stop. So what happened to Corey McFarlane after getting all the way up to 4th place? Something has befallen Corey McFarlane and undone all of that fantastic work.
Oh, what a shame. I did miss what that was, because I was looking at the pit entrance there to see who was coming in. And that explains why I didn't see them pit, because they just DNF'd. So I'm sure we'll see a replay soon of what happened. Hopefully it wasn't... well, I guess there's nothing hopeful about what's happened there. He's in a great spot and he DNF'd, unfortunately. We'll have to see what it was.
Zach Baker taking
a
huge shortcut there, so the car just didn't want to stop on him, and he's had to burn one of his track cuts there. Probably a negligible amount of time lost there, as he just kind of went to the right of the bollard instead of the left.
I'm not sure, because we're definitely quite far over the 1/3 race distance point. Let's have a look and see what happened. It was a little bit shaky through 5. Oh, he's disconnected.
That's a technical issue. A technical issue for Corey McFarlane. So yeah, game crash or a disconnect, and that's all she wrote for Corey McFarlane. What bitter luck for him.
Jeez, you hate to see it, don't you? Because he was doing so well, and I put the muzz on him. That's what I've done. I'll have to write him a personal apology, I think, because I was singing his praises so much, and then there you go.
You can get that personal apology with a bit of with a letterhead on it. Reprint it for every time that we do the commentator's curse on someone.
Yeah, I'll download the Cricket Australia official memo template, so hopefully that officialdom helps seal the deal there and reverses a bit of that curse.
And while Corey McFarlane was doing his fantastic run through the field, we missed this zinger from Two Awful Guys. Corey's going to smear some mustard on Zach and eat him up.
Brilliant.
All right, so the race falls into a bit of a holding pattern as we wait for most of the cars haven't yet done their first round of pit stops, and we're past the 1/3 distance mark, and so we would expect a bit of that action to happen right now. I think Kai Jones Brandon Dostal's in the pits.
So he's in for his first stop. I might keep my eyes on the pit entry again to see if anyone else decides to peel in, but this will definitely be the time. I'm not sure how long these drivers want to eke out their tyres for, whether they want to be going. I haven't really been paying too much attention in practice to pit strategy or talking to any drivers, having just dropped in last minute basically. So I guess I'll find out. And yep, Kurt Stenberg has taken to the lane. Colin Warwick stays out, as does Luke Rosella. So that promotes Dane Liccardo up into 4th position. Or up into 3rd position it will be once he does actually come around. Got a bit of a way to go before he reaches that point. as Kurt Stenberg rolls down the lane in front of your very eyes.
So it's about 32 to 34 second pit delta here. So Kurt Stenberg, what was he, around about 2 seconds behind Luke Rosella when he came into the pits. So we'll have to watch that with interest.
Oh, true. Pit deltas. I forgot all about that. That was one of the big talking points
Probably,
at Bathurst. And I put a lot of effort into calculating it, and now it's completely escaped from me. So I'll be learning as soon as you folks do, I'm sure. Kurt Stenberg's pit is done and dusted, so he's rolling out of the lane now, and he will probably be rejoining in front of Stenny and Kai Jones. So dropping quite back there. Yeah,
so that was probably, that looked like it was more like about 36 or 37 seconds on that, on the basis of that, because he's about 41, no, sorry, more than that, 48 seconds behind Luke Rosella after taking that pit stop. So longer pit stops than last time we were here.
Luke Rosella's just tucked into the lane now. Colin Warwick will be staying out. So let's see where this shapes up.
And this is what we've seen from Colin Warwick this year, is him trying to go longer on that first stint to try and get some sort of advantage later on in the race. And it has meant that he's able to have shorter pit stops, jump cars through the pit stop phase, which is something that I think he's worked on in previous years. He really struggled with that tyre life, and this is...
Well, we've got an incident. Dodger is buried firmly in the fence in the exit of turn 2, so this may be safety car areas if he doesn't clear that off into the pit lane soon enough.
You're right, he is very... How did he get there? He's got on top of the tyres, and he's trying to drive...
He's over them now.
Oh, that's a very tight camera angle. Where is that? Yeah, there's a problem. Let's see if we can find the replay, because it's happened. He's got himself so stuck that he can't get out. How has he managed to do that? We'll come back to that, because he's stuck on the wrong side of the fence.
Oh no!
There's a gap. I think there's a gap further on. Oh, he's gone back to the pits. I think he's decided that he's had enough of that. I wanted to see him persevere and see if he could make his way back to the racetrack, but we'll try and find the reason why that happened, because it must have been some sort of incident that managed to put him on the wrong side of the fence. No one could help him. He was in no man's land between the racetrack and the fans. So we've found it. We'll look at the replay here. Coming into turn 1, and I think he's just grabbed too much curb. And it's flipped the car, and it's hit the ambulance, and that's just put it on a trajectory on this tiny little bit of no man's land between where the fans go and where the cars go.
That was one of the most elegant Austin Powerses I've ever seen in ASC. So great effort in that sense, but what a shame to end a race like that.
You wouldn't read
watching
about
the replay. You really wouldn't, would you? That poor ambulance driver must have bricked himself when he did it as well, because he nearly flipped the front bumper off the front of the thing.
I mean, that's been happening. That ambulance is built like a brick shithouse.
Oh, it is. Yeah, you want it to be if it's an ambulance.
Colin Warwick has.
He's pitted, so he's boxed, and he's out in front of Luke Rosella and Kurt Stenberg.
All right, so we'll bring you that action just as the moment we're finished with this slow motion replay.
Fair enough.
Here is the action. This is for the race. I said that the long pit strategy that Colin Warwick was attempting may well bear some fruit.
That was a bump and run from Kurt Stenberg behind them as well. So Kurt Stenberg has pushed his way right past with authority.
So they've all
Colin
converged.
Warwick's not going to be happy about that.
So going longer has worked for Colin Warwick. Pulling the trigger early has worked for Kurt Stenberg. They both gained time on Luke Rosella. However, Luke Rosella has managed to come back in front of the rest of them.
Which is curious, because Luke Rosella didn't pit first, so he wouldn't have the warmest tyres of the bunch of them. But he's done a great job to pass them all again, because he was, I can't remember if he was second or first in that battle pack there. Currently fourth on the road, because the 3 cars in front have yet to pit, including somehow Zach Baker, who leads this race provisionally. Cameron Parrott has peeled off, so this will become the battle for third that Kurt Stenberg is a part of right now. But yeah, that was such a weird one, because I guess the overcut must work out pretty well for Colin Warwick, but unfortunately he wasn't able to make it stick, because he's found his way at the back of this battle pack again. So we'll see if he can stick on the rest of them. Kudos to this helicopter pilot once again. Great photography from himself. 2 awful guys, Madbird in the chat saying, can't wait for ASC 2023's intro to include 90% clips from this race. Yeah, both buddy.
All right, let's just get this. So this was the lap that they came out of the pits, and Luke Rosella was on hot tyres at this point, and Colin Warwick was still trying to get up to temperature. And this little battle allowed Kurt Stenberg, who pulled the trigger early on the pit stop, to catch up to them all. And
keep
that's
an eye
how
on
they
the background
converged.
here at what... Oh, you can't see it in that shot. You'd have to have another look from Kurt Stenberg's perspective. See if you can get a bonnet shot, perhaps. Yeah, here we go. Was it a bump and run?
Oh, it was a bump, and that meant
Was that intentional?
Well, maybe. They are mates, of course, but there's absolutely no question that Colin had to get out of the throttle in order to not drive into the grass. And that gave Kurt an opportunity to slide up the inside.
So Zach Baker's peeled off into the pits finally. He's dragged his tyres all the way out until lap 19. Has he not realised it's a 2 compulsory stop race? It seems like he's trying to drag his tyres out to be able to do 2 stints.
Meanwhile, that puts Steve Warwick in the lead of the race. So, father of the person that you're looking at right... Oh, sorry, that is that is Steve Warwick that we're looking at right now. So here is the race leader by virtue of not having stopped yet. As we mentioned, it is a compulsory 2 stops, so it doesn't make a great deal of sense why they've got this far into the race without doing 1 lap, 1 pit stop. But, however, it does give them a bit of airtime.
It certainly does. I'm going to throw back to another comment I saw earlier from Madbird. Amazing racing from Steve Warwick, father of the soon-to-be father, Colin Warwick, who's probably floating back looking at this great battle as Luke Rosella is giving him the good old heave-ho and trying to get him out of the way. He's on the same lap, so he's perfectly entitled to that spot, but Luke Rosella's going to take it anyway. Says, thank you very much. First place is mine. And he's going to put a car between himself and Kurt Stenberg, and that'll do wonders for a couple of laps for Luke Rosella for sure.
Yes, so now we saw that Colin Warwick had a bit of trouble getting past Peter Stenberg. How much trouble does he get? Does he have getting past Steve Warwick? None at all. So of the 2 fathers, Steve Warwick proving a little bit easier to get past than Peter Stenberg. Now, Steve Warwick was well within his rights to block there and not make it too hard for them, because that is for position legitimately. However, he probably realised that they are very much on a different strategy and their tyres are a lot newer at this stage of the race.
It was only going to be a matter of time. Look how much of a gap they've got now. Colin's already pulled almost 2 seconds on Steve, so that lead group just has so much more pace on account of having so much more meat on those fresher tyres as well. So this is where the battle is. A little bit more lap traffic to negotiate. I think that was Brapp who has pulled off onto the track to get right out of the way there.
Yeah, he leapt into the infield there and is crawling along in the grass, so probably more than he needed to do, but that's what he felt comfortable to do to make sure that he absolutely was in no one's way.
Brody in the chat saying, and people say Winton produces boring racing. Winton produces a boring drive up the Hume Highway for 3 hours. Boring racing? Absolutely not. And this is testament to that.
I have been singing Winton's praises for 3 years, and I think it's a fan spectacle. Maybe it's not a driver's circuit. However, I sometimes think the best races are produced by circuits that the drivers hate driving.
I was talking to one of to Callum Brannigan, a friend of mine who works at Vic State Racer and does a little bit of riding as Steve Warwick finally peels into the pits. When I saw that Winton had been announced as an upcoming track for iRacing, and I was almost wondering if that could be a great avenue to promote the racing that does happen at Winton in real life, because Winton is going to be suddenly introduced to a whole audience of overseas sim racers who have never seen a race, let alone heard of this track. They're going to be forced to race around it in MX-5s, and they'll enjoy it quite a bit, I'm sure. And then maybe they'll want to stick around, and then maybe they'll want to do a bit of YouTubing and searching for other racing that happens at Winton. So,
watch this space.
It absolutely deserves it, this track.
And it's delivering in spades. We have a 3-car battle for the lead right now. They are absolutely Morse coding each other. Bumper to front bumper to rear bumper. through the corners. They are unable to get through them without a little bit of much very touch. And so who is going to come out of this in front? They still have one more compulsory pit stop each to do. When they pull the trigger on that is going to be crucial, but they're racing like it's a sprint.
They really are. These guys aren't worried about burning up tyres at all. It's so interesting to see the contrast between these three who look like they've been going... Oh! Kurt Stenberg had a really big sideways moment there coming out of the final corner. At least it looks so from my connections perspective at least. I could be wrong there on every single front because he's still right behind Luke Rosella. Doesn't look to have lost an inch. Still all over him like a cheap suit as Colin Warwick is to Kurt Stenberg. But I got sidetracked by screaming. My apologies. What was I talking about?
I don't know. Sidetracked by Screaming sounds like an album.
It does. Yeah, coming. Check it out on Spotify.
Ooh, Kurt's wide at exactly the place where he did the bump and run to Colin Warwick. So I suppose from Colin Warwick's point of view, everything is back in karmic realignment.
Yeah, he'll be pretty stoked with that, I think. He's still got to find 7/10 to get onto the back of Luke Rosella, mind you. But at least he won't have that Kurt Stenberg car in front of him to deal with first. So Luke Rosella will be looking behind in his rearview mirror going, thank you very much. You boys can keep scrapping as much as you want. I'm going to keep sitting pretty out here in front as long as you're not giving me too much chin music on my rear bumper, and that'll be fine. So now the margin is about 3/4 of a second to Luke Rosella at the front.
Colin's closer to Luke than Kurt is to Colin, so as much as Luke might be thinking you guys battle each other, if Colin's got the pace, he's free right now to try and catch up to Luke Rosella. Let's have a look at the sector times. I don't know if there'll be that much of an indication for the start of the previous lap because they were so busy fighting each other, but the final sector, it was Kurt who was the fastest, Colin who was the slowest, and Luke in the middle somewhere. But I mean, we're talking fractions of a tenth of a second at this point.
Just having a bit of a scan through the field at the moment to see what everyone else is doing. Field seems to have settled quite nicely. Alex Cattle is up to 4th, mostly as a beneficiary of a couple of other misfortunes and whatnot, but the whole field started to thin out quite a bit. We might see it concertina back together as the pit strategy comes to a conclusion towards the end of this race to see where people are at in their various stages. But because Alex Cattle was the first car to pit, if I recall correctly, so he might have an interesting part to play as Colin Warwick darts around some lap traffic there. He's getting a little bit closer to Luke Rosella at the front, but only marginally. It's seemingly varying from corner to corner. He's not getting much closer, but Luke Rosella isn't getting much further away.
Yeah, at the end of this lap, this will probably be a bit of an indicator of their relative pace because it's the first lap for a long time that they've all had a bit of clean air and not been fighting each other. So this might be representative. So they've just come across the line. Let's have a look at the lap times. It was a 1:23.1 from Luke Rosella, and Colin Warwick did a 22.9. So it's about a tenth of a second in the favour of Colin Warwick there.
Kurt Stenberg is falling back quite a bit. He's 1.9 seconds behind Colin Warwick down in 3rd place at the moment. And it seems a bit uncharacteristic of Kurt as a driver to lose pace without his knowing, really. So maybe he's deliberately holding back a little bit, saving a little bit of tyre. Not that it'll matter too much. No, I suppose it will, if you're factoring in strategy as it cascades through. But maybe he's trying to give himself a little bit of extra tyre towards the end of his 3rd stint to push hard at the end of this race if he's anticipating this back is going to compress up again a little bit.
Possibly. It's been quite sudden, that drop-off, because he was right in the middle of this battle with everyone, and as you said, a second slower than Kurt Stenberg. If he is conserving, he's going to have to take a huge chunk out of those tyres later on.
Sorry, I was just having a bit of a chuckle to myself. Dane Liccardo in 5th just punted Stenny out of the way. Was not having a bar of that lap traffic action at all. So he's in 5th place. Stenny's still on track, no damage there, but I just sort of scrolled past and thought that was pretty funny. But sorry, you were making a point and I rudely interrupted you. No,
that's all right. A bit of on-track action. I'm happy to be interrupted by that, yes. I think Dane Liccardo was perhaps expecting Peter Stenberg to be quite so slow on the exit, so
I think that's the Morse code for get out of the way.
Unceremonious, I'd say.
It's a great way to put it.
So a bit of a calm before the storm, and that storm is the second round of pit stops being forecast in the pit lane very, very shortly indeed. Bit of yellow flag wherever Kurt Stenberg's going through right now. It looks like Spiro has had some sort of issue. That's him just recovering to the track there. Was he just getting off for the lap traffic, or did he have a bit of a spin, I wonder?
That's a great question. I haven't got my replay key bound, so I can't find out for you. But he did look to be around, so I reckon he might have spun.
Yep.
Yeah, looked it.
A lot of people want to spend a bit more time in the cleavage.
Not a huge amount of understeer happening today, Winton, is there? I'll say that much.
It's always the back overtaking the rear.
As Richard Hammond put it very eloquently once, oversteer is better than understeer because you don't see the tree that kills you.
Well, he's seen a few things that could have killed him over the years, and there's a bit of experience in those sorts of things.
Yes, I'd love to be his insurance company.
Oh, that makes me wince just thinking about what his premiums cost.
Oh, goodness gracious.
A premium, I should say.
Oh, he's probably on Jeff Bezos money though, so it wouldn't matter too much. Just invoice it to the work card.
Yes, that's probably why. I mean, is the Grand Tour still going? I feel like that was the whole reason that Amazon Prime got off the ground in the first place.
I think it is. And I think it's changed quite a bit from when it started as well. You don't hear about it too much, but I don't really go out of my way to watch it because I don't have a Prime subscription, but it seems like one of those things that if it stopped, you'd hear about it, wouldn't you? It'd be pretty big news.
Probably. I feel like I was talking to Madbird about this last week, last time that we raced in the ASC, which was the there was a YouTube channel called I think it's called Driven Media, and they do a lot of Top Gear style content, and I think in a lot of cases they do it better now than Grand Tour does now, because it's kind of on that lower budget, and I always thought their lower budget stuff was better than when they were given a huge amount of money and they had no limitations. You know, when they were given, you know, a couple of £100 to buy something and off they go, that was often their best work.
Yeah, but when they get given thousands and tens of hundreds of millions and whatever money they got from BBC and Amazon to just make the biggest explosions possible in front of the most cinematic camera they could find, it just sort of got a bit old, didn't it? It's like, I might as well go to the cinema and watch this sort of thing that Michael Bay's directing. It's just doesn't have the same charm to it.
I think this is the closest battle we've got on track right now. It's RSM Latino, who holds a gap of about 1.2 seconds over the car behind him, which is Brandon Dostal. You can see him in the back of the shot.
Colin Warwick held up by Stenny again. That gap's gone out to 1.5 seconds at the front of the field. Sorry to interrupt your little point you were making there, but I was just keeping an eye on what was happening in that situation. And, geez, he's not going to be a big fan of that. So the gap, as you said, is 1.5 seconds. Yes, so that is now the closest battle on track, I believe, after what's just happened up front.
Yeah, but both gaps seem to be extending a little bit. Let's have a look at the timing screen. It always sheds some light on it. RSM Latino 125.8, and that was 2 or 3 tenths faster than Brandon Dostal on the previous lap. Similar story. Colin Warwick, my goodness, he lost 6 tenths of a second with that moment in the traffic that we were talking about a few moments ago. But even so, Kurt Stenberg slower again, a 25.2. I don't think that's conserving, because you're not going to have enough time to take advantage of the fresher tyres later on in the race.
And speaking of traffic, I think that's going to bring an end to this battle between RSM Latino and Brendan Dostal, as Luke Rosella currently sits in the middle of them and waits for the blue flag to let him through past RSM Latino
through one
as
of them.
well.
It depends on how well RSM Latino is able to let past Luke Rosella, and there he goes. I think he managed to do that quite well. Just getting out of the throttle in that little short shoot between turn 9 and 10. And the gap Yeah, 1.5. It's about the same as what it was. So I think that Brandon Dostal and RSM Latino did an equally good job of letting Luke Rosella past.
Mr. Walsh, 73 in the chat, says Grand Tour is not still going, and Clarkson Farm is Jeremy Clarkson's new show. And I have seen snippets of that, but I assumed it was just some sort of daytime thing that Clarkson was doing on top of his Amazon commitments.
Is that actually a thing? I just remember there was like a meme of a Clarkson farm on YouTube about 10 years ago. They were like, there were just people who were, there were just a bunch of Jeremy Clarksons who were being farmed on this remote farm.
This is Clarkson Island. Yeah, I remember that vividly. That was a great bit of content.
Oh, I haven't thought about that in years. There's something I'm going to go queue up and watch after this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, this battle's back on for ninth, actually. RSM Latino was getting very close there with Brendan Dostal, but Dostal was either in front and lost it or got close and lost it and had a bit of a moment. So
they've had to let Colin Warwick through as well. In the
that's true. That is very true, but they're back within about 0.8 of a second, so that battle hasn't really gone too far at all.
No, you're right. It has closed up, and Kurt Stenberg is behind them as well. So there's another little complication that they probably both won't want to have to deal with, but it's inevitable because Kurt Stenberg is lapping about 1.5 seconds per lap faster than they are.
Clarkson has bought a farm.
He's bought a farm. Okay. I find that ironic because of the meme.
Yeah. I like to believe he was sitting in his villa just thinking about that video and going, you know what?
I will buy an island, a farm.
I will buy a farm on an island. It's a pretty Clarkson thing to do, to be honest.
In the world. Yes.
He still behaves like Clarkson. He still like chickens and eggs and panics. So doesn't really know what he's doing. But it's
that sounds like
from
something he would do. Basically, just an entire waste of resources, whatever it is he's doing.
You'll never watch a show about farming. You won't watch a new show about farming. You'll watch a new Jeremy Clarkson show, though. So
I don't know. I would also watch a James May show about farming, where he finds something interesting about it that no one else would find interesting, but he makes it interesting because of his passion for it.
Oh, did you ever watch Oz and James? That was great.
Oz and James. I don't think I did catch that one.
It was, they just drove around Europe going to wineries and getting smashed and just talking about wine.
Perfect. So Kurt Stenberg's managed to lap Brandon Dostal, and in doing so, the gap to RSM Latino out to a 2-second margin. We'll see what happens once RSM Latino is lapped by Kurt Stenberg, what that gap returns to. Not there yet.
You know what, Stairs? We haven't seen any second pit stops, and there's 5 laps to go.
Wondering if they missed the memo, because it was in the, it was in the information that we got that they have to have a oh, hang on. Oh, I've led you astray. I'm looking at it right now. It does say _1. Oh dear. Oh, there's egg on my face.
I've been coked into a snafu, folks.
And it's all my fault. I told him it was 2 compulsory pit stops. It normally is in the longer race. They do have the 2 stops. But it looks like they've just gone for the 1. Where did I see 1? Yeah, no, it's right in front of me, and I'm looking at the looking at the information on Discord right now, and it says 1 compulsory pit stop. So there's no obligation to come in.
Good times, classic hits. Maybe they should anyway, just to spice things up a little bit in this race. That'd be nice. We're all expecting 2 stops. Give us 2 stops. Go on. Here was me thinking that I'd get a bunch of drivers.
Been good. When they were going to go for their second stops, I think that would have closed everything back in, because ever since the round of pit stops, those gaps have just increased throughout the field. So we'll just see if we can just catch up on where everyone is to see whether anything has changed dramatically, but I don't believe it has. Luke Rosella's out to a 3.3 second lead right now. And although Colin Warwick was faster on the previous lap, it was only by about 1/10 of a second. So looks like he's got second place sewn up, because Kurt Stenberg is really struggling in comparison. Oh, I say that. He was faster again on the previous lap, although down into the 25s just then. Alex Cattle is doing a good job. First time on the podium last time out at Barbagallo, so wonder if he's still riding high from that moment. He's backing that up with a very solid 4th position today.
He was the first car to pit, so he's managing this set of tyres really well.
Well, let's not speak too soon on that because we've seen tyres go pop in the past. As
true.
Dane Liccardo has a little bit of a lag spike there coming around the penultimate corner. Now that is a gap that looks like it's pretty close, and although Dane Liccardo is in 5th place, Zach Baker isn't too far behind. The lap times though seem to be saying that Dane Liccardo's got that in hand. Zach Baker, well, he was a few tenths faster on the previous lap, so maybe there's a chance that that position could swap hands before the end of the race between Dane Liccardo and Zach Baker. We'll see, and probably just put a bookmark on that one. So there is Zach Baker there, 1 second behind. Steve Warwick in 7th place. We saw some excellent defending from him before. A small mistake let a lot of people through, but still a solid result up in 7th place if he can hang on to that. Cameron Parrott, 2 places up from where he started. He's had a clean race, up in 8th place. Ahead of Arisem Latino, who now has that gap to Brandon Dostal out to about 2.5 seconds. Brandon Dostal running out the top 10. Then we've got Kai Jones having a very lonely race down there in 11th. Brapp in 12th place. Acclaim Bite holds down 13th from Keenan Sykes. And then behind him we have Stenny Spiro. And then the DNFers so far, Dodger, Corey McFarlane and David Nenovich. That exit for Dodger was one of the most remarkable things that I have seen in ASC.
What a graceful flip that was. That slow-mo was excellent. If I was a photographer there, because that's a pretty good spot when I do go down there with the camera, with accreditation, that's a great little spot to stand just inside the concrete wall on the exit of turn 2. I would have died so much from that car just hitting me square in the face. But geez, it would have been a pretty way to go.
Would have been a good shot. Yeah, I mean, you know,
yeah.
There'd be a story to tell at your funeral.
Oh, Stenny's had a big moment in the background. I just saw him darting across a lot of real estate. He's cut from... Where's he gone? Has he cut from turn 1 to turn 5?
Oh.
No, he's turn 5 to turn 10.
He might struggle to get his lap counted if he's done that. Has he done a Scott McLaughlin? Is that what Scott McLaughlin did those years ago, where he cut off? Yeah, here we go. There was no attempt to make that corner.
No, he caught his mistake and he jumped on the anchors and just pulled up short of turn 10.
I mean, maybe, but I don't think he caught his mistake for a very long time after it, until a very long time after it occurred. Here's the onboard. He's just driven straight on there.
Or did he have a connection issue, I wonder?
Maybe. You are
hope so,
doing a very good job to give him the benefit of the doubt. At least he sort of stopped and held short of the track itself.
I mean, I like to believe that someone isn't going to deliberately throw a car across the infield to spice things up at the end of a race here.
Maybe he was distracted by something and that's, missed the corner. But I'd be very surprised if that lap counted for him.
As soon as I thought of getting distracted and throwing it off the track, I just remembered back to Rhodey, who was trying to do a solid one-driver stint at Bathurst in 2020. Looked down to get his water bottle and just absolutely clobbered the wall on the exit of the elbow. And he's jumped in the comments saying, I have photographs from the spectator spot there. Would have had a fiberglass unicorn horn after Dodger's crash. Yeah, absolutely. But it's a great spot to watch cars go by, that's for sure.
Yes, that classic moment of distraction for Ben Rhodes didn't actually end his race, despite how dramatic the accident was. Unfortunately, it was a small accident later on that it did end that race for him, but he bounced back in strong form 1 year later to complete the entire race all by himself, and that was as good as any #Rhodium that we could have had.
Absolute machine. What a performance that was. And speaking of performances, we are on the final lap here. Luke Rosella is on a tear. He's had a fantastic race from pole position. He's got a margin of 6 seconds behind him. No qualms whatsoever as he rounds the gum tree. He is having a great race. It's an awesome battling there in the early stages and the middle part after the pit stop period. But he held his nerve brilliantly, didn't he, Stairs?
He absolutely did. He lost the position through the pit stops. He lost the position off the start, but he was strong enough pace-wise and racecraft-wise to get it back in both occasions, and he's just driven off into the sunset. He now has a 6-second advantage over Colin Warwick and Kurt Stenberg, who just had no answer, and he's coming around the penultimate corner now, and just one left for a fantastic race win, the first for the season, and Luke Rosella is the first person other than Dane Warren to win a race this year for ASC. What a result for him.
Brilliant stuff. Colin Warwick will cross the line in second position with Kurt Stenberg rounding out the podium. You got the feeling it was always going to be those three because they were just in a league of their own in their battle pack at the front of the field. But how did the rest of the field shape up? Alex Cattle is still on his lap at the moment. Oh, and he's not too far ahead of Dane Liccardo in fifth, as a matter of fact. We've got a very last-minute battle on our hands. Where did this come from?
Yeah, it was Dane Liccardo. Yeah, he had he's been lapping about a second a lap faster, so I hadn't really been looking at that as a potential potential position changing spots. But it looks like Alex Cattle is just going to hang on. The race finishing just in time from his point of view, as Dane Liccardo finishes about a second behind him. Zach Baker ended up dropping quite a bit of time in the end, who I thought that was potentially a battle that we might see towards the end of the race, Zach Baker and Dane Liccardo. So well done to those guys. Zach Baker, despite his tyre troubles early on in the race, did well to hang on to sixth place, I think. Another strong showing from Steve Warwick. Fantastic qualifying that sort of put him in that battle, and a great start. One little mistake cost him some positions, but a solid end to the race in 7th place. Cameron Parrott is going to come home in 8th place. In fact, he already has come home in 8th place. He's into the pit lane now. RSM Latino in 9th. Brandon Dostal in 10th. And then so Kai Jones was 11th with Brapp in 12th. And Claimbite in 13th. Keenan Sykes 14th. Stenny in 15th and Spiro in 16th. So well done to our 16 finishers tonight. Commiserations to our 3 DNFers in Dodger, Corey McFarlane and David Nenovich, as Luke Rosella celebrates a well-deserved win.
Yeah, shred those rear tyres up, mate. You deserve it. What a great performance it's been. Shred that back bumper up and the rear wing. Just smash it up against the concrete wall. Just turn your car into a subcompact. You deserve it after a performance like that, mate. Well done. We'll have another race later on, half the distance of the one we've just had, with a qualifying session of its own. But what a great little scrap that was, Alistair.
Most certainly. I had a lot of fun with that. There were some surprises. There were some things that we have come to expect from a lot of guys. And there was some very good racing right throughout. And this is what Winton throws up, and this is what I've been expecting Winton to throw up. For 3 years I've been waiting for this moment, and we finally got back to it, and it didn't disappoint. Speaking
of throwing up, Madbird must be spewing that he missed the commentary on that one.
I think so, yes. I've seen a few comments come through in the live chat that yes, they would probably suggest what you're saying there, is that he's quite disappointed that this is the one race so far that we've had a different winner, and he was not there for it. But we're very happy to have you here as the super sub to come in to his place when at short notice he wasn't able to. So it's a good thing.
If you need a good race results mix-up, just give me a call. I'll come down and jump in the commentary box and shake up the order. There's two constants here.
We didn't know that was what we had to do. But there you go. Cracking race, as Two Awful Guys Madbird says in the live chat. One more to go, the sprint race. We like this format where they do the long race first and then the sprint race last. So this often can be quite hectic because they've put all their concentration into that feature race, and then the sprint race is just... It's sheep stations.
You love a good sheep station, don't we? Was there did you say there was a compulsory stop for the second race?
Yeah, there is.
Yes, there is.
Just one, not two, like I erroneously led everyone to believe in the first race. So that will have to be taken and, at least prior to lap 16 out of the 18 lap races. So pits are open from the end of lap 1 right through to the 16th lap. And now that is scheduled to start very, very shortly indeed. But we'll have a 10-minute qualifying session before that to determine the order for the race. So I'll be interested to see whether people like Corey McFarlane can make a return if he can get a decent lap in qualifying, he'll be a factor as well. And that would be good to see. Good to see David Nedich back as well, hopefully. He had just a horrible start, jumping the start, so let's see if he can make amends for that.
Yeah, it's not a great thing for your mental state as a racer if you have a start like that. I'm just thinking back to Carlos Sainz at the Australian Grand Prix earlier this year, who bogged it down, just got all flustered and stuffed it into the gravel towards the end of the first lap. So
it's been a downward trend since then for him. I feel like he can unravel the mystery and, go all the way back to that moment to sort of see where everything's fallen apart for him ever since.
Well, they did okay last night at Catalunya, his home race. He got 4th, which was pretty good, but he's also in a Ferrari and he got beaten by Merc, so there's that.
Well, it was interesting when he had that moment. It was at turn 4, and he put it in the gravel, and I thought, oh no, it's just gone from worse to worse for him. And then when Max did it a few moments later, I was like, it's funny how something happening to someone else, completely separate from what happened to Carlos, could just completely change your perception of that happening to Carlos if it happens to Max as well.
It kind of vindicated Carlos quite a bit, didn't it?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't sure if there was anything on the track that was causing it. Obviously there wasn't, because not too many other people got unstuck, but that tricky Catalunya wind, I remember that caused an issue for Fernando Alonso a few years ago when he was testing and had a pretty bad prank that nobody saw, which was apparently down to a gust of wind, and I thought that was just gobbledygook. But the wind sounds pretty brutal.
It felt at the time like there was a lot of information being withheld with that Alonso crash.
There was, that's right. It felt like it, yeah.
I don't know, whenever Alonso's around, it feels like things are more complicated than they need to be.
Which is how I like it. I like the chaos that Fernando Alonso brings to the sport.
Alonso does bring a chaos factor, doesn't he? Just an absolute pro at picking the wrong team at the wrong time.
Yeah, and when he's at the wrong team at the wrong time, just digging the heels in. I remember reading a little while ago. This is before I was following F1 super closely. This is before the team got disqualified. And I think it was related to this when he was at McLaren in 2007. This is around about when he and Hamilton were hating each other, holding each other up in the pit lane and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And I think the team was going to reprimand Alonso for something along those lines. And he was like, if you do, I'm telling everyone about the fact that you've spied on Ferrari.
It was bound to come out from that very moment, really.
Emails between him and Ron. Well, it was actually, from what I remember, the reason it got out is because the bloke's name, the dude who was doing the copying of the stuff, British bloke, Stepney, his wife took the papers down to the local copy shop to get them copied. And the guy operating it was a Ferrari fan, and he realised what he was looking at, and he reported it directly to the team.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think I've heard that.
Spewing, wouldn't you?
A hero though, from Ferrari's point of view.
Oh yeah, but you'd be spewing if you were Nigel Stepney and you got caught out by something as seemingly insignificant as the kid working the photocopier at the shop.
But I mean, just the way that relationship between Alonso and Ron Dennis capitulated afterwards, you get the feeling that it would have come out at some point, in much the same way that the Renault Crashgate thing was secret for quite some time until the driver got let go, and Nelson Piquet Jr. decided that was the perfect time to let the world know that he was told to crash on purpose. So as soon as McLaren and Alonso were to part ways, you get the feeling that probably would have come to light in much the same way.
That whole thing around Crashgate, where Nelson Piquet, the general consensus after that whole debacle, even though he was in the right and he was exonerated, he had made no wrong decisions except following through with the crash, but he was, cleared by the FIA. And up to that point, he'd followed team orders right down to the T, like right into the concrete. He'd followed those team orders.
Oh, yes.
And then after he ratted the team out in exchange for them ending his contract early, it was the general consensus was that he would never drive for any Formula One team again. It was like, I feel like the blame shouldn't be on Nelson Piquet for snitching out his team. I feel like the blame should definitely be more proportioned towards Pat Simmons and Flavio Briatore for telling him to crash into a wall. But I digress. Different times, I suppose.
Probably. I mean, they got their bans, and I don't think Nelson Piquet was really seen as the fastest driver in the world himself. So I think even though you know, he was allowed to drive for another team if he wanted to, I don't think another team really wanted him.
Yeah, that's totally fair enough. He wasn't exactly a good driver, was he?
I mean, he was put up against Alonso, which was a bit unfair, but I don't know, he just seemed like a bit of a gormless driver to me.
I guess not everyone has Formula One in them. Sebastian Bourdais, you have to remember, was a superstar in American championships. He won Toro Rosso and got absolutely pantsed by Vettel. So, mind you, Vettel's a great driver, but
at 21, Vettel, you know, was as good as anyone. And he won a race in that car, unbelievably.
he did. That's right, he certainly did. Oh, and Bourdais qualified second that race as well. It was a weird one. Speaking of qualifying, speaking of another race, here's one.
Yep, oops, server's just having a bit of a moment there, and it's back now. So let's have a look at qualifying for race 2. And less cars taking to the track immediately than we saw in the first race. So it's probably about a third of them have elected to stay in the pits at this stage. Probably trying to get a little bit of a gap for them to kind of fall into. Brap is the leading car on track at the moment.
Yeah, not so much of a bum rush out of pit lane this time around, and I think a lot more people are just looking for that extra bit of real estate. Not everyone's got it, mind you, this time around, but we do like to see a bit of shaking up. Crucially, did I see him? Corey McFarlane is still in the lane, so he hasn't even gone out yet, and I feel like that would have been his downfall in the first qualifying session, not getting that banker lap in early.
Might be having
mind
a
you, he was
mile
able to do pretty well regardless, hey?
Well, yes. I'd just like to see how far he can get up if he starts at a, you know, more representative position. But not that seeing him fight his way up from the back of the grid isn't exciting. But let's see.
True, it does make for good television.
It does indeed. Here's Brap. He's going to be the first person to set a lap. And as is tradition, we're going to follow him around the racetrack. Looks like he's got a bit of a Stig helmet going on inside there.
Does a little bit, doesn't he? It's a nice contrast to the jet black Dare Iced Coffee car that he's piloting.
The 970. Driven
What a large number that is.
Pretty. It's bigger than most others. Yes, for a three-digit number, it's larger than most. All but about, you know, 39 of them.
It's weird how we're all used to 888 just being a normal number to have on the side of a race car, but 887, that would be a huge number.
Yes, it's an enormous number. It's bigger than most. If that was kilograms, then you'd be dead. If that was your weight.
Oh, you would be for sure. You wouldn't be very long for this world at all.
No, and this lap is not long for this world because it's about to finish when he comes across the line to set the first benchmark for this race. A 125.1 immediately usurped by Dane Liccardo there, who looked like he might have misjudged his gap a little bit. He caught up to Brap right at the end of that lap. Luke Rosella has just jumped to the top with a 22.1.
22.1. What we're looking at last time around is a 21.8-ish that got pole for the first race, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're about 21.8, so 0.3 or so faster than what we've seen. So you might call that a bit of a banker lap. There might be a different level of grip to what we had in the first qualifying though, so we may not see the same type of lap times that we saw in that first qualifying session.
This is very true, although there might even be a little bit of sandbagging at play. Drivers not wanting to go completely hard. Like you said, just posting a banker lap just for the time being, because you never know when yellow flags and crashes are going to stuff things up. So just get one in for sure. But it is a sprint race, so you'll want to be able to get that lap in as soon as possible and make sure it's a good one.
So our lap for Corey McFarlane, he has taken to the racetrack finally. David Nenadic, I should say, for Zach Baker Racing, still in the pits. So after his horrible first race, hasn't got out for qualifying yet. So we wait to see whether he'll make an appearance in this qualifying session. We hope that he can. We've got Luke Rosella coming into the pits, so he'll have probably one more run. But so far, 0.5 faster than Colin Warwick. So Colin Warwick has quite a lot of work to do. We haven't seen a representative time from Kurt Stenberg down there in 12th place at the moment. He must have messed it up because he's come back into the pits, and so he really will only have one more run to improve on that position. Just 12th at the moment.
Just seen Brody Steen appear on my timing sheet, a 20th
Brody.
car.
Yeah, so he must have some sort of work commitments that mean that he can't get home in time to start the first races, because he has been doing that a couple of times this year. I think it might have been Barbagallo or Simmons Plains where he joined for the second race.
Just having a look at his car, looks to be based on, I hate that I know this off the top of my head, one of the old Fox body Mustangs that used to race in the DTM in the 1990s, I think. I think it's in Race Room Race Experience. That's where I know it from.
I think that that's in character for Brody Steen, if that is the case. So I'm glad that we've got your knowledge here to put that one to bed, because I wasn't sure where that came from. He's the only AWG car that isn't bright green, yellow, and blue, like the one driven by Alex Cattle, and also Sean Allen and Benjamin Dahlia, both of whom are not here tonight. So all part of that same AWG stable, but Brody Steen, the only one of them with this livery.
Do yourself a favour and go have a look at Zach Zabaker's replay of him coming into the pit lane.
All right.
His left-hand side tyres had an insane amount of grip. That may be a result of my connection quality playing tricks on me. But have a look, because he's been getting a bit of two-wheeled action off the curbs. Have a look as he comes around this corner.
Whoa!
He
did well there.
Sending it into pit lane.
That was a big send. Yeah, so he's clouded that curb. That's the second time tonight we've seen someone cloud a curb. Hard enough to get some air. Not quite as dramatic as the moment we saw for Dodger in that first race.
Oh yeah, that would have tickled, that's for sure.
Good thing the Ambos were on standby right there.
If you're going to have a crash anywhere, it's right in front of the Ambos, isn't it?
Now, Luke Rosella has disappeared from the server, and so his time has disappeared from the top of the qualifying tree.
Oh no.
And my understanding is that if you're out of qualifying during the session, then you have to start from the back. I might be a bit rusty on those rules, but because there are tyre allocations involved, it means that you're not allowed to do that, 'cause even if it's a technical issue that means you had to leave, it's effectively a pit lane start or a back row start, because it gives you a fresh set of tyres.
Oh, that's true. I was about to say, what does that mean for Brody Steen, who wasn't there at the start of the session and came in halfway through, but same allocation as everybody else and less time to use it. But it's a fair point you raise about starting, posting a lap, and then leaving. So, yeah, I'll keep my eyes out and see if he does rejoin.
Because what this means...
I've just seen for Dane Liccardo, who spun out into turn number one of them. Turn 7, I believe, the one just before the gum tree. Yeah, turn 7. Bit of a moment there. So, yeah, I'll keep a keen eye on Luke Rosella, because that's very curious.
Yeah, so, I mean, I could be wrong, but let's see a replay of that. What happened to Dane Liccardo? Ooh, I think he got caught up behind Stenny, not for the first time tonight. Oh, yes. Oh, was he on a flying lap when that happened? I hope not.
I think so. That was a big pace differential.
Yeah, it did well to avoid, but it didn't do his lap any good. And Stenny, he was just cruising, and that was surely not a heater, so Peter Stenberg probably would be the first to admit that he probably should have got out of the way there. Dane Liccardo will have to have another go.
He does have time for one more go, but only one more go it will be. This isn't a live shot we're looking at, is it? I'm not sure if it is. This is live.
This is live, yes.
Luke Rosella is back in the session, but he's not going to be able to get out by any stretch, so he's done.
Well, he still has 0.3 of a second.
He does. Where's Kurt Stenberg at the moment? I can't see his splits. He's coming up to the second split now in this lap. Oh no, he's not in danger of touching that at all at the moment. He'll have one more flyer to get stuck in. We're looking at Colin Warwick at the moment as he is halfway through the second sector, so we'll see pretty soon. The next corner is where we'll see where he's pacing at the moment on this lap. See if he's on a flyer. Not looking to crash hot. He's faster than He is faster than Luke Rosella's time, and he's faster than his personal best, but he's 1/10 of a second off pole. This could be a very close qualifying result here, folks. So keep an eye on Colin Warwick, because he did qualify. He had a lot of pace towards the end of the first qualifying session, you'll remember. So all these guys are roughly on par on their one-lap pace. So this is looking pretty juicy.
Carried a fair bit of speed through that final corner, so if he is going to do it in the final sector, he's done all he needs, but not enough. 4/10 up on his PB, but still a 10th off what Luke Rosella was able to manage in his first run. Kurt Stenberg's up. Kurt Stenberg's up by 2/10 of a second through the first sector, so this looked like a very, very solid lap indeed for the defending champion.
Well, I tell you what, Colin Warwick got to the line with fractions to spare. Time has elapsed, but his clock is ticking. So Colin Warwick may be on for another lap here, but we'll keep our eyes on Kurt Stenberg as he comes out of turn number 9 and races down towards the second sector split at turn 10. We'll see how he's tracking. He's looking pretty quick so far. As he crosses the split, he's down 0.06 of a second. It is marginal. The run out of turn 10 is crucial. You want to be nailing every part of this third sector. Get your braking marker perfect to the millimetre. That's not perfect to the millimetre.
Oh, no,
he's thrown that off the curb, gone through the grass. That's what a shame for Kurt Stenberg. He'll get a little bit of time from those first 2 splits, but he's not going to be happy about himself throwing away that lap at turn 11 there.
Is it enough for second though? No, it's not. He's actually slower than what he did in his first attempt, and that's a shame because he had a mega first sector. That's still the fastest first sector by a couple of tenths. I think
Colin Warwick's in danger of touching that pole position time either. He was down 3/10 through the second. He'll cross the line 0.187 behind pole position, so he will secure second spot on the grid as the rest of the field files into the pit lane. But Luke Rosella, he only needed one flying lap and he got the job done. 1:22.161 is your pole position time, and that's Luke Rosella's second pole position on the trot. A perfect night for him so far at Winton.
All right, so assuming he gets to hold on to that pole position, I might have to seek clarification on that rule as to whether he gets to keep that, but I'm sure we'll find out in a few moments if he lines up on the front row. A 22.1 and nabs pole position by a 10th of a second from Colin Warwick, which makes that the same front row that we saw in the first race, and Kurt Stenberg in third place, making it the same front three. Zach Baker in fourth place ahead of Corey McFarlane, who did get a representative time in, and he did a 22.6, so only half a second or so adrift, and we saw the pace that he had early doors in the first race. Alex Cattle starts in 6th place behind him, and then Steve Warwick in 7th, roughly the same position that he started. I think that was the same position he started the first race, so another strong qualifying session from him. Dane Liccardo behind him. Brody Steen in the row behind with RSM Latino, Cameron Parrott, Brandon Dostal, Brapp, Keenan Sykes, acclaimed by Spiro, Stenny Dodger, and then we didn't have times set by Kai Jones and David Nedadich. They will start at the back of the grid.
I just want to give a special shout out to Madbird's mum on Facebook, who has commented on the post of me commentating tonight and said, "Awesome. I'm sure he's not as good as Liam though." Very
supportive of her son is our Lynn.
You
Liam's
do love to
mum.
see it. Thank you, Lynn, for the support. Always appreciate it.
Sure he's not. Wow. Harsh. All right, so predictions for race 2?
Oh. I'm going to put Colin Warwick down for the win.
Yep.
I don't know what is making me say Colin Warwick. I'm saying Colin Warwick. Luke Rosella is looking really good. He didn't make a single mistake at all.
He's definitely the man to beat
in the first race, and he's absolutely the man to beat. But Colin, yeah, like if this battle pack can stay together for this whole sprint race, which I think it will, I have faith that it will stay a lot tighter knitted together in this race than it will have done in the first race. Geez, that came out of my mouth like treacle.
I appreciated the tight knitting of your statements together.
I was trying to get the word embroidery out of my head because it doesn't flow very well in a commentary sentence.
More of a crochet man myself.
Yeah, I like a cross stitch actually.
Oh yeah. Did you ever have those things when you were? This is a huge digression. But when we were in primary school, this is a conversation I'd have with Madbird, but you guys might have done it too. We got toilet rolls and we put popsicle sticks around the toilet roll, and then we used wool, and it created this like little tube through the bottom of the toilet paper of wool, and they were used as Christmas decorations or something. No idea what the hell it was called, and I don't know what I'd have to search on Google to find it. I'd probably get all sorts of the wrong things by typing in tube hole wool
Stick.
popsicle sticks and toilet rolls. But that it was like a form of kind of knitting, crocheting sort of things that they got us to do in year 1 and 2, or actually it was probably before that, kind of more like kindy age actually.
I don't remember doing anything like that myself, but we'd get like 2 popsicle sticks and glue them together in the middle of like an X, and then we would like weave coloured wool around them and make like a ninja star for your nan kind of looking thing.
Yeah. Ninja star for your nan is a perfect description of that. Yeah. And
chuck a bit of string on the end and hang them off your Christmas tree. Great stuff, and it matches really well with the gold spray painted macaroni picture frame sitting next to the Christmas tree.
That's what made Christmas special. It's all that sort of stuff.
Wasn't it?
Also, the toilet roll knitting thing.
The absolute shite we would concoct at school for our parents.
Yeah. Oh God! Whenever Mother's Day and Father's Day came around, I bet the teachers had a bit of a laugh to themselves, like, parents are going to love us this year.
Dad's got a toolbox sitting in his. Dad's got a wooden toolbox sitting in his shed somewhere that I made in Scouts. Might have been Cub Scouts actually, and I got the last little morsel of silver paint in the rattle can, and you hit it. One side of this toolbox is covered in silver paint, dripping, and there's like smatterings on the other side because it just wasn't enough to complete the whole toolbox. And I was like, "Here you go, Dad. Happy Father's Day," and I think he still uses it somewhere.
We made a 3-masted ship out of a milk carton.
Yeah.
And you think, that sounds like a fun exercise for a bunch of people in, 1st or 2nd grade. That was in 7th grade for us.
Was it like an engineering exercise, like you were trying to make something that could float down a bit of water?
Oh,
or was
no,
it just
none of them were put in. None of them were put to water. They were just like, I think we had to research a 3-masted ship, like the Endeavour or the Bounty or whatever, and it had to be called something, and we like coloured in a piece of paper and brown and attached that to the outside of the milk carton with our skewers that we put on top, which were the ship, were the ship's masts.
Oh, goodness gracious.
But just in time, the cars have taken to the grid, so a bit of a digression from our reminiscing about the crap we made at the primary school. So this is the racetrack Madbird. Matty
there
Dunlop.
it is. I was waiting for it all night. What a racetrack it is. I love Winton. We've been talking about this all night, but geez, isn't Winton a great track? We're looking at the 2nd sector at the moment, the cleavage. Previous pole sitters were Jake Maloney and Jake Maloney. Tonight is Luke Rosella and Luke Rosella. He is forming up on 1st place at the grid at the moment. We'll run through the grid in just a moment. There's the venue, just outside of Benalla in Victoria. In, I don't know what region of Victoria it is, the flat bit.
Northeastern. Before the hills start.
Not Melbourne. It's all the same, basically.
Not Melbourne, no.
Someone who grew up in not Melbourne can confirm.
I also grew up in not Melbourne, but I do have family in, other part of not Melbourne.
Oh, there you go.
Do you want to take us through the grid there, Matt Dunlop?
I do. I absolutely do want to take us through the grid, starting with Luke Rosella, who has qualified on pole position with a 1:22.161. Wasn't as fast as his first qualifier, and it was the only lap he put down, but it counted, and he is on the front of the grid. Lining up next to Colin Warwick, who put in a great effort, just over a 10th behind him with a 1:22.267. 3rd place, or P3 I should say, is Kurt Stenberg, so that leading trio from the first race is right back at it again for the start of the 2nd race at the very least. Followed by Zach Baker, who did actually have 4th place for the vast majority of the last race, but his tyres were not behaving the way he would have wanted and fell back to P6, I think it was, something like that, looking to improve in the sprint race. Corey McFarlane, not on the back of the grid today. He's starting 5th. What can he do with that absolute drive he's got from the Master Foods machine? Looking forward to that. Alex Cattle starting in P6 next to him on the 3rd row of the grid. And behind them, we've got Steve Warwick. Dane Liccardo from P8 as well behind him. You can expect him to go basically anywhere because he's been floating all the way up and down the field in the first race. Brodie Steen, who has joined us for the second race, will be starting out of P9 next to RSM Latino in 10th to round out the 5th row of the grid. As we move back to row 6, we've got Cameron Parrott in the Maple Leaf SimSport Tim Hortons Canadian tyre machine in beige, which we love. We absolutely love a bit of beige. Oh yeah. Brandon Doster will be in 12th position ahead of Brap. Keenan Sykes behind him. Had to read that very slowly to make sure I didn't say Keenan Skies. And Claimbite is starting out of 15th in the Ford.
The Ford
ahead of Spyro. I guess it's a bit of a Ford, isn't it, that car? Spyro is in 16th position for this race ahead of Stenny in 17th. Dodger will be 18th, looking to keep all four wheels on the track and not outside of the concrete walls and in the air at various points. David Nenadich will be starting from 19th and hopefully not jump starting from 19th like he was in the last race, with Kai Jones in 20th position, rounding out the grid, lining up, taking that spot, and we should be set for a race start.
The revs are rising. The race is about to begin. Exact same front row as race 1. And a much better start this time from Colin Warwick. Does he get the jump on Luke Rosella? Kurt Stenberg on the grass trying to get down the inside of Luke, and they're all going to go into the first corner and funnel their way through. No action back there in the back half of the front row. None of them spinning off, which is excellent. And here we go. It is Colin Warwick leading away from Kurt Stenberg and Luke Rosella in 3rd place.
Nice clean getaway for everyone there, but it is Colin Warwick leading the way. I don't want to toot my own horn on my prediction, but toot toot. We are rolling. There's a bit of wood I can touch here somewhere because I don't want to put the Moz on him on lap 1.
Very early
but
days,
he's looking nice and neat and tidy.
So Kurt Stenberg is exactly where he wants to be, bar 1. Luke Rosella is exactly where he wants to be, bar 2. Colin Warwick is exactly where he wants to be, bar none. Now Luke Rosella has got up the inside of Kurt Stenberg. This is all giving a bit of breathing space for Colin Warwick. But Kurt Stenberg is going to hold on for the time being. Zach Baker in tow has got a watching brief, and Corey McFarlane behind him.
Zach Baker's still in touching distance as well here. He's having a look at Luke Rosella. This might be the closest he can get to him all race, so he wants to take advantage of this where he absolutely can. Local yellow flag situation there, cleared away pretty quickly. Can't imagine what that was. There's nothing else happening. Maybe someone's had
Spiro's down there in the cleavage. Looks like he's had a bit of a moment and has some catching up to do. So that might have been what the yellow was for.
How's he doing the cleavage? It's the end of lap 1. Let's have a look at where we are at the moment. Colin Warwick leads. Kurt Stenberg barely second ahead of Luke Rosella, who's all over him like a cheap suit. Zach Baker rounds them. He's currently behind them in P4. Corey McFarlane is trying to get past him in 5th. Steve Warwick is P6, just ahead of Brodie Steen, who's made up 2 spots to 7th. Brandon Dostal is 4 spots up to 8th, ahead of Cameron Parrott in 9th, and Dane Liccardo down in 10th. Oh,
for the lead, Kurt Stenberg has served Colin Warwick, and Luke Rosella got through as well. So that is all she wrote for Colin Warwick for a few moments, and Luke Rosella is battling back around the outside of Kurt Stenberg, trying to get the race lead, but Kurt Stenberg gets better drive, and Luke Rosella unable to get the power down and manages to hang on for the time being.
It's not all she wrote, Stairs. These guys are still going hammer and tongs. It's only lap 2 and there's still a lot of paint to be swapped over on these cars. But look at Zach Baker.
This. Zach Baker trying to drive around the outside. He does indeed. There won't really be too many chances around the outside. I don't think that'll be successful 9 times out of 10, and this is one of those 9 times.
Well, we almost had a drag race down the straight, but it is Kurt Stenberg who's going to lead them across the line to start lap 3. Zach Baker loves an outside line, but Colin Warwick is not letting him have a bar of it. But now we've got a 5-car train for the lead, and look who's on the back. It's old mate Corey McFarlane, who's almost going to make a look up into 4th. He's got the line, he's got the position, he's got 4th place. Well done.
Yeah, and Zach Baker, I think he would have pit manoeuvred himself if he'd turned in, so he did well to know that Corey was there and didn't close the door shut on him. He would be disappointed that he left the door open in the first place, but a good opportunistic move for Corey to get the move done there and puts himself on the back end of the podium, especially if these guys trip over each other. Kurt Stenberg still leading. Corey Luke Rosella in second and Colin Warwick in third.
And now Zach Baker finds himself on the back of a battle pack instead of the front of one as he was in race 1. So maybe this will change his racing mindset. He won't be frying up his tyres as quick as he was last time, perhaps. We'll see how that goes for him. But in the meantime, geez, these guys are still bumper to bumper for first, second, third and fourth, aren't they?
They are. And in the back of that shot, leading the next group of cars was Brodie Steen, who's gained 3 positions off the start. So a terrific start from him. He leads Steve and Warwick.
I do remember Brodie Steen from Bathurst 2020. He had a great run with was it Zach Baker?
Sean Allen?
I'm not sure if it was. Sean Allen, that's who it was, in that yellow car. Yeah, they were wonderfully consistent, both of those guys. I don't think they had the result they were looking for, but great race pace all the way through that. So Brodie Steen's an excellent steerer, and I'm really keen to see what he can do here tonight.
Yeah, one of the Sydney Motorsport Park races that we had last year. He's got his hands full tonight, keeping hold of that Mustang with a very quick Steve Warwick behind him. Meanwhile, back at the front, it's Kurt Stenberg with a very quick Luke Rosella behind him.
Remember how early Alex Cattle pitted? He was the first person to pit in the first race?
I do remember that.
He's currently rolling out of the pit lane. He's taken his first stop.
Well, I guess he knows from the first race how long he can make a set of tyres last, so he's going to go for 14 laps with his second stint.
It's a bold strategy, Stairs. Let's see if it plays off. He's down plumb last in 20th with a gap of about 7.8 seconds up the road to Spiro. So he's got work to do, but he doesn't have pit stops to do.
Yeah, and maybe just wanted to get himself out of a bit of traffic as well, so that could well work out for him.
Just a bit of a hot lapping session for him now for the rest of the race, potentially.
Yeah, how good is his concentration and on his own? Some drivers prefer that. You know, they get kind of muddled up when they're in traffic and get out of the rhythm. And others like that because they've got a carrot in front of them dangling and giving them a reference point for all their braking markers and all that sort of stuff.
I think I would definitely prefer it. I'm definitely not a seasoned sim racing veteran by any stretch of the imagination, but whenever I've got a car remotely close to me on track behind me or next to me, I just freak out and hit the nearest wall that I possibly can. So having a lot of free real estate ahead and behind you would probably do wonders for me. So we'll see how it goes for Alex Cattle, but I think it'll be quite a while before he starts seeing those dividends coming in from that move. Meanwhile, we've got this great battle at the front. Luke Rosella has basically riveted his bumper onto the back of Kurt Stenberg at the moment. He's not letting him go at all.
Yeah, this is interesting times because if Kurt can keep Luke behind him, then any one of these 4, I think, could win the race. But I just get the feeling that the pace Luke Rosella has brought to the table tonight, it means that if he does get past Kurt Stenberg and the others can't get past Kurt Stenberg, there might be a bit of a decisive break. So this battle here crucial to the result of this race. Yeah,
absolutely. Kurt Stenberg, he doesn't strike me as a sort of driver who will suffer the pressure. Oh, Corey's dropped in, yeah. So maybe he was looking for a bit of fresh air himself and going for the undercut for those guys in front. This will be interesting to see what happens.
It very much will be. So looking for the undercut. And I think that's a wise decision because he could get a bit of free air. It's a bit of a gamble depending on where it is that he pops out. But if these guys here elect to go long like they have done in previous races, then they might end up costing each other time. And Corey McFarlane, if he has a good opening few laps to his second stint, could jump the lot of them. He's on the move.
McFarlane, he wasn't exactly stuck behind Colin Warwick when he peeled in. There was at least a couple of car lengths between the two, so it's not like he was struggling to get past.
But
he does rejoin at 18th position, so he's not all the way at the back of the grid.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to work out for him because he's come out behind a big gaggle of cars that he's going to have to make his way through, and all of them are sending smoke signals down into turn 3 there. So let's see how fast he processes them. They won't know he's coming. Oh, are the C's going to part for him? The C's are going to part for him. Oh, Dodger didn't see him. And there's a bit of contact. And a claim bike goes spearing off stage left.
Jeez, my goodness. Squeaky. That was chaotic, that was.
Now, was there actually contact between him and Dodger, I wonder? Or was that a bit of a moment for Dodger getting a bit of a surprise, I wonder?
Yeah, I don't think I would have been expecting to be past that early in the race. They would have been expecting to be lap traffic further down in the piece, but I don't think... Oh,
there was no contact. No, there was no contact. Dodger just got a bit of a fright on his own, I think. And
Put the boot in it and spun out.
That was clean from Corey's perspective. So nothing to worry about from him. He probably that probably worked out as best as it possibly could have for him.
I think it did, yeah, I think you're right. But like you said, might not be the best strategy in terms of McFarlane's own race there. As we look at the front here,
I like it.
Luke Rosella's trying his best to find a line up the inside of Kurt Stenberg on the exit of these tight, twisty corners. But Kurt Stenberg's just getting the drive. He's not letting him past. Colin Warwick's just sitting back a couple of lengths, just observing, just having a look and seeing how they're doing. He's not losing too much ground on them, but he's not gaining too much on them either. And Luke Rosella is in a hell of a hurry to get past Kurt Stenberg. But Kurt Stenberg has made that Commodore about 12 feet wide.
So I think that Colin Warwick is just hanging back to keep his nose clean, and there he is. Yeah, so
Kurt, did you see that? What a slide that was from Kurt Stenberg. He's feeling the pressure at the front. Luke Rosella's got a great run down the main straight.
He's opened the door, and somehow Luke Rosella wasn't able to get his nose in behind there. So maybe he thought that he was confident enough under brakes to not need to cover the line. So Kurt Stenberg and Luke Rosella will continue to battle as Colin Warwick is going to take tyres.
So that takes Colin Warwick out of contention for now. It'll be very interesting to see where he rejoins. He's pulling out of the pit lane just now, and he's got a gap ahead of McFarlane of about 10 seconds as he crosses the line. Oh, that's come right down to 4 seconds. Okay. Timing was a little erroneous there, but Colin Warwick has taken the advantage for sure. There's a margin of about 2 seconds between them now, second and a half. It's coming down a bit more.
Yeah,
as
here
Corey
it is.
McFarlane is on warmer tyres, of course, but in terms of the gap on track, Colin Warwick is the victor of that small battle.
I think the gap is probably similar to what it was between those two cars before either of them made their first pit stop at this stage. So I don't think it's particularly gone one way or the other in terms of favouring one driver, although Colin will have fresher tyres towards the end of the race.
Stenberg, sorry to interrupt, Kurt and Luke Rosella have both pitted.
Well, that's interesting. So very intrigued to see where they come out in relation to Colin Warwick and in relation to each other, considering that they are absolutely line astern. Bit of traffic that Colin Warwick and Corey McFarlane have had to deal with, and that's really closing up there as much as it's closing up in the pits as well. And Luke Rosella had to drive around Kurt Stenberg, and he's put himself in a really bad position for his pit exit because he's in his box at a 45-degree angle faced in towards the garage, and he's still waiting. He's finally on the go, and he's going to be a long way behind Kurt Stenberg.
I wonder what the delay was on the pit stop. Had he forgotten to turn off damage repair? Because there was a little bit of a bump there. He did rear-end Kurt Stenberg just a little bit on the way in.
So these guys are going to get through, and Kurt is going to be leading. Corey McFarlane has just set the fastest lap. Colin Warwick is just behind him. Kurt Stenberg leads them by about a second. Not much. Half a second. There he is just up at front in front of Colin Warwick. So net second place, another penalty for David Nenadic. He's not having a good night, is he?
No, he really isn't. Another penalty. That his race done for sure. He's currently running in 14th position, and I'm guessing he was in the pit lane, so he's probably picked up a drive-through penalty there from speeding, I'd say. Hard to know for sure, but what a shame for David Nenadic that is.
All right, so there's Kurt Stenberg, there's Colin Warwick, and there's Corey McFarlane right behind us. And then Luke Rosella, quite a few car lengths behind. That kind of illustrates how it's all played out. Luke Rosella, the net loser from the pit strategy. Corey McFarlane effectively vaulting himself up one position.
But Luke Rosella, you remember how much of that late race pace that he had in the feature earlier on tonight, and how much of a gap he was able to pull away, winning that race by 6 seconds. So
it's perfectly poised.
Don't count him out just yet. This is
not
going to be...
not at all. Either one of these four can still win this race. I'm continuing to spruik that line because it's perfectly set up for a grandstand finish. 8 laps to go.
Yeah, this is going to be great. We're just over the halfway point here, and we've still got a great battle at the front here, or the effective front, to keep us ticking over. Your timing screens will show that Brody Steen is leading ahead of Braff, but neither of those two cars have pitted so far. The effective lead of the race is what you're watching here right now. Kurt Stenberg still effectively leading with Colin Warwick right behind him and Corey McFarlane in third in this battle pack.
Yeah, a bit of a space back to Luke Rosella, who's... yeah, let's have a look at his times. He's sort of about the same as the guys ahead, not really taking chunks out of them just yet. But wait till they start battling each other, as they're starting to do now. Colin Warwick alongside Kurt Stenberg.
Yeah, that gap from Luke Rosella from his onboard perspective that I'm watching, it looks to be coming down at least a little bit. It's enough that he'll be within touching distance for sure before like with a few laps to go. These guys are locking brakes. They're taking all sorts of varied lines. They're trying to weave around each other. They're racing is what they're doing. It's a motor race, Toto. That's what's happening.
Well, they would do well to help each other, because if they're going to get steamrolled by Luke Rosella if they're not too careful. But as you say, you know, there are no friends. There's a yellow flag down into turn 1, so there's no opportunity to overtake here. And the yellow flag is cleared as they get past Dodger. So it might have just been Dodger driving onto the grass, triggering the yellow flag as he was trying to let them through. And Luke Rosella has latched onto the back of Corey McFarlane.
Luke Rosella had the fastest time there with a 1:21.938 as he makes his way past Corey McFarlane. That was quicker than his qualifying time, Stairs. Wow. He's on a tear.
Yes, pulled the trigger at the right moment. Oh, big two-wheel action there for Colin Warwick, and I don't know how he hung on to that one. Luke Rosella swipes his way through, so that was a bad moment there for Colin Warwick. But I thought he was going to sail off into the grass there. Let's see if we can catch this from the onboard of Luke Rosella, because I think that'll be the best view. Wow, what a moment that was. Tripping over a bit of traffic, but I think that's worked out very well for Luke Rosella.
Just having a look through, how's Colin Warwick looking on your broadcast? Is he still on this battle pack?
He seems to be. I can't see him on the screens actually, but we'll come back to that, because Luke Rosella is right on the back of Kurt Stenberg and fighting for the lead of the race. He's going down the inside here at turn 1. This could be the move. Oh, that was a very early turn in there for Kurt Stenberg. He was not having any of that. Lots of door-to-door action going on. Quite a few car lengths back is Corey McFarlane. So Colin Warwick is back in 6th place, 14 seconds adrift. So we have to catch up with what happened to him.
I was on board. He had a connection issue. He just stopped on the track from my perspective, and cars just phased through him. So he's had a connection issue. Held it together like he did through turn 6. What a moment that was. As he was on the 2 wheels up in the air, managed to keep those other 2 wheels onto the tarmac, which was great. Oh, this is a great battle at the front though. Luke Rosella really getting stuck underneath the bumper of Kurt Stenberg once again. Let's have a look at a replay. This is on the run into turn 10. Yeah, connection issue. He's just hung there, rubber banded, and is he still in the race? So the garage it's gone to a shot of the garage.
But he comes back.
He's still in the race. He's still P6, and there he is reappearing once again, cleaning up all the markers.
That's
but
what
a shame.
Yeah, because it's cost him a lot of time. And down in 6th place, Brody Steen. Brody Steen has pitted now, so that is a legitimate position change, with Brody Steen ahead of Colin Warwick now. But this is the top 3, all in the same shot still, and Luke Rosella continuing to put Kurt Stenberg. I can't say my words. Kurt Stenberg under pressure. Corey McFarlane in tow behind, hoping that they trip over each other.
Yeah, hoping for a bit of Stephen Bradbury action here, I think Corey McFarlane would be. He's definitely got the skills to be able to get up front and possibly get past these guys if he wants to. But I think he's perfectly entitled to just hang back a little bit, because these guys will be biffing and barging and slowing each other down that much.
Ooh, bit of a bump there on the back of Kurt Stenberg from Luke Rosella.
Case in point. He's trying his darndest to get past, but geez, he's good at defending, isn't Kurt Stenberg?
Yeah, so 5 laps to go. Can he hang on? Luke Rosella, we've seen, had way more pace towards the back end of the stints in race number 2. And it looks like he might be getting a tad impatient at this stage. Looking left and looking right.
Weaving all over the place. He wants past. If he had a direct radio link to Kurt Stenberg, he'd be just yelling down there, "Get out of the way! I've got a race I want to win," but Kurt Stenberg doesn't want to give him a bar of it. He's got the number 1 on that car for a reason, because he's bloody quick. Oh,
is he going to get down the inside of the final corner? I thought Kurt looked a little bit wide coming through the penultimate corner, but in the end, I think Luke has cost himself straight line speed down the pit straight by trying to make that move into the final corner.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't on. I think Luke was trying to stick his nose up underneath there and try and find a space that wasn't there. So he has cost himself a little bit of time. And now he's fallen off the back of Kurt Stenberg to the tune of about half a second. You can see on board now, that gap is basically academic. And Luke Rosella has that much pace. I'm sure he'll catch up right onto the back of Kurt Stenberg once again within this lap. Where's Corey McFarlane? He's not super close to the back of these two. He's at 1.1 seconds behind them, so he's still hanging back a little bit. It's effectively a 2-car battle at the moment, but as we were saying earlier, don't count him out.
Yeah, this middle sector here that Luke Rosella was absolutely mega through qualifying. It's seems to be one of his advantages over Kurt Stenberg in this track. We saw Kurt Stenberg had some very fast first sectors in qualifying, but unable to hang on to the kind of gaps that he was pulling out across the rest of the lap, which is where Luke seems to have the advantage over him. And so if Kurt wants to win this race, he's got to be very smart about the way he defends throughout sectors 2 and 3.
Geez, Luke has his car in the right place at the right time. He's not wavering from his line whatsoever, except down the straight where he's weaving like he's got no petrol in the bloody thing. But through the corners, he is rock solid. He's not ramming into the back of Kurt too much at the moment. He's just sitting there, consistently piling on that pressure, just letting him know that he's always there. He's always sneaking around. He's having a big lunge.
That was a big
move into turn 4. That was a great pass from Luke Rosella, and he's up into first position. And it's not necessarily game, set, and match just yet, unless Luke can get away at the front. We'll see what happens, but there's still 3.5 laps or so to go, and a bit of lap traffic coming up in the form of Spiro. So this isn't over yet, but what a move that was from Luke Rosella.
It was a forceful move, but I think it had to be because Kurt was driving so well that it was not going to happen without a little bit of intervention from Luke. And so it was not where we were expecting it to be, because Kurt seemed to probably have his strongest sector over Luke Rosella in the first sector. And Nathan Higginson in the chat saying that was brave. Well, it was very nearly over the line, but I think probably just within the bounds of acceptability.
Oh, Alex Cattle's just dropped out of the race. Stairs.
Oh, no.
Not sure why. He was just having a pretty good race there. I was just watching his onboard just on the off the cuff. Stenny, as lap traffic cut him off a little bit on the run in, but there wasn't any contact. We're going to see a replay now. This is after the lap traffic, and he's just darted off the track. No steering. Is that a technical issue?
That looked like a deliberate, I need to get out of the game sort of thing, because he drove off the track and hit the brakes to come to a stop before going back to the garage. It wasn't like a disconnect where it suddenly happens while they're mid-steer. So
that is true.
Whether something happened to his setup that meant that he couldn't change gears or something like that to stop him from racing, or maybe something occurred at his house that he had to take care of that meant he had to drop out. I don't know. Another unanswered question.
Indeed. What a shame. He was looking pretty good there, had some good pace. I think he was running with Colin Warwick and Dane Liccardo around that 6th, 7th bracket. Not sure where he was in the proceedings, but at the moment he is DNF in the garage. So what a shame for him.
So Luke hasn't completely driven away from Kurt Stenberg just yet. Still 0.4 of a second difference. So Kurt Stenberg can still potentially win this race if he puts Luke under pressure and causes a mistake. We think Luke has more pace. Yeah, it's got to happen pretty soon if it's going to happen. But Luke Rosella has just been a man on a tear tonight. Fastest laps so far, 121.9. We've not come anywhere near our times. Well, actually, 3/10 away from the race lap record set in 2019 by Jake Maloney, which is a 21.6. I don't think we're going to better that tonight, but it's been a very strong showing from Luke Rosella tonight.
Yeah, with the battle that's just resumed here on the second last lap, I don't think we're going to be seeing lap records falling because these guys will just be too busy going hammer and tongs. But Kurt Stenberg's gone really wide there through turn 7. So that's not going to help his case at all. He's a second behind Luke Rosella now. So that's not what Kurt Stenberg wanted on the second last lap of his race.
So it's been a very strong night for Corey McFarlane, one that he didn't get fruit for in the first race because of a disconnect or a game crash that forced him to retire from a very strong result after he had climbed his way from the back of the grid. And in the second race, got a qualifying session, started 5th and is up 2 spots to be in a very strong podium position. Hasn't had an answer for the front 2, but it's been a good race for him. Zach Baker in 4th place. Seems to have had less issues with the tyres than he had in the first race, where he was seemingly a bit of a cork in the bottle. He goes a little bit wide there in the penultimate corner, but it should be fine from his point of view. We've got Brody Steen in 5th, a very strong sort of arrive and drive kind of performance from him. Show up, qualify 9th, up 4 positions into 5th. Very good result for Brody Steen if he can hang on to that. He's got Colin Warwick recovering after a bit of a problem that he had earlier on with his game, which cost him a lot of time down in 6th place, but it looks like Brody's got the time in hand. Dane Liccardo in 7th, Steve Warwick in 8th, Brandon Dostal in 9th, and Cameron Parrott rounds out the top 10 as our leaders are on the last lap. We'll rejoin them for this to the end of the race.
The gap's tightened up just a little bit. It's just under 0.6 of a second now. So Kurt Stenberg has brought some of that time back from his mistake. But I reckon that excursion just wide of the line through turn 7 on the previous lap was crucial. That was the nail in the coffin, which may have provided neither of them make a mistake here. I reckon that sealed the fate of this race. There's only 2 corners to go. And Luke Rosella is in the box seat here for the sprint race to take out a perfect weekend. Kurt Stenberg's going to have a big lunge. Whoa, big 2-wheel action there as well for Kurt Stenberg. There's no way he's taking this race now. Last corner is done and dusted. Luke Rosella charges onto the grass, but he has every right to. That is a perfect night at Winton. Rounded out in style for Luke Rosella. He wins race 2 and he takes round honours with 2 race victories from 2 pole positions. Well done, Luke Rosella. That's a brilliant performance. You've earned that, mate.
Yeah, he was the one to take advantage. We wondered what would happen when Dane Warren wasn't able to race, and it was Luke Rosella who stepped up to the plate when it counted. Kurt Stenberg, strong result in 2nd, and Corey McFarlane, a 3rd place finish. There you go. Zach Baker in 4th place, as we talked about earlier on. I don't think any of those positions did change. Brody Steen in 5th. Colin Warwick will be disappointed with that 6th, considering he was up there potentially in the fight for the win. Dane Liccardo improved on his qualifying by 1 position in this race, and so he's celebrating that with some burnouts down there in pit lane by the looks of it. Steve Warwick in 8th place. I think he's had a pretty solid night. Better result in the first race. But in the second race, he is in there with another top 8 position, another top 8 finish that will solidify his position in the championship. Brandon Dostal in 9th. The ever-present Maple Leaf Sim Sports Tim Horton's car in 10th place rounds out our top 10. And we got RSM Latino, Brap, Kai Jones, David Nedovich. So he had penalties in both races tonight, but he's up 5 positions from where he started. So no qualifying, nowhere but up for David Nedovich. Despite a penalty, still manages to finish 14th. So that's actually a decent run considering how his night started. Kenan Sykes in 15th behind him. And then we had Dodger in 16th, McLean-Bite and Stenny in 18th. So well done to our wild cards for stepping up. Spiro in 10th. In 19th was a lap down also, and then Alex Cattle, our 1 DNFer out of the 20 starters from this race.
Great field, great turnout for tonight at Winton. Actually, 20 cars on the grid is great to see, and they all put together some great racing. And yeah, due to the lack of both Dane and Ethan Warren tonight, we got to see the order shaken up really well, and some brilliant racing there. We saw great results all around for Luke Rosella, Kurt Stenberg, Colin how have I forgotten his name already? I was looking at it about 5 minutes ago. Corey McFarlane, that's the one. Colin Warwick spewing to miss out on a podium in that second race, but still a great result. And I haven't got the points in front of me because I forgot to do up a spreadsheet for this one. But there's got to be a bit of a move and shaking in the points, I would think, Stairs.
Yeah, I think so. With Hans Brunswick, who was in 5th place, not here tonight, it's probably going to see him drop down a few positions because we did see some solid results from people who were not too far behind him.
I reckon that would mean that Kurt Stenberg would move up into 2nd place in the championship for sure, having only been... I can't do the quick maths. It was definitely a race result behind Ethan Warren. So now he would have slingshotted himself up into 2nd for sure, if he's not ahead of Colin Warwick, which he may well be. I'm talking a lot about things that I haven't got in front of me because I don't have a spreadsheet. But points have changed, races have been run, results have been had, and it's been a great night of racing all round, Stairs.
It has, and we've been joined by some of the podium sitters for the 2 races that we just had. So we might as well start with our podium sitters for the first race there. Maddie, starting with Colin Warwick.
Colin Warwick, 3rd place in race 1, but unfortunately had a little bit of an issue there in race 2. It looked like, from our perspective, a connection issue of some sort. You're able to recover to 6th, but you had great pace all night, mate. Well done.
Yeah, cheers. I think I got 2nd in race 1, actually.
It was
I
2nd,
can't remember now.
Oh, my apologies.
It was very frustrating. I mean, I probably had the car speed to even win both those races, but yeah, just that 2nd race, I don't know what happened. It wasn't connection. Connection was fine. It's just, yeah, the game just does some weird things sometimes.
Tell us about how you were going in those battle packs there, because that was a great little bit of scrapping that we were seeing through both of those races.
Yeah, it was good fun. The first race I sort of just let them go a little bit because I was going to save just a little bit of fuel and underfill them by a little bit because I knew if I could be within 1 or 2 seconds of them and then underfill by maybe a couple litres, there's a free, couple of seconds to be in front of them, and that's why I jumped them after the stop. But yeah, that was fun. Racing Stenny and Luke, it's always good fun. Always a good laugh with them too. So that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's what I could see from my perspective up in the commentary box here. A lot of hard racing, but a lot of respectful racing as well, which is always great to see. So 2nd place, I've now correctly established in the first race. Wasn't able to make the podium in the 2nd race, but great job all around, Colin, and congratulations again.
Yeah, cheers guys, thank you.
Who have we got next? Stairs?
Yeah, so Kurt Stenberg, who was 3rd in that first race and 2nd in the 2nd race. So a strong showing, and you were fighting hard for that win in the 2nd race, but didn't quite manage to hang on. But how did you see the night from your perspective, Kurt?
Well, I don't like this track, and I knew I wasn't good here, but I gave it a red hot crack. Race 1, I kind of worked out that we weren't... I tried to look after the tyres, but I worked out we weren't going to quite have the tyre life of Luke when he started to pull away. Knew I needed to do something, so I pitted to try and undercut him, and he pitted the next lap, which is the smart thing. But then I basically burnt my tyres off just trying to go with him, and then realised that I'd done that and just backed out of it, because my whole intention was to get in front of him. Race 2, I managed to get in front of everyone off the start, and I drove around. I'm going to be honest, I was... Being a bit naughty. I was driving around and I was definitely trying to slow everyone up. I was trying to look over to my own tyres and see how it went. And yeah, eventually I got caught out doing that in the 2nd stint. Luke decided he was going to pay me back for the start of the race and push me a little bit wide. And then I tried to push hard to keep up with him, but yeah, our tyres were gone on the last 2 laps, so we could only do what we could do.
Well, for a track that you don't like, and I know this isn't particularly a driver's favourite amongst most of you, but you still did a pretty decent job tonight considering.
Yeah, it's probably the best I've ever done here, to be honest. I was hoping I might shake the bogey and get a win, but not to be. But yeah, it's probably the best I've ever gone here. Can't be dissatisfied. Thought it was going to be a lot worse than it was.
Oh, well, congrats on a good result, Kurt, and thanks for chatting to us.
No worries.
All right, Maddie.
Corey McFarlane. We'll have a chat to Corey McFarlane. Unfortunately, a DNF in the first race. after a sensational comeback from last on the grid. You were able to convert that pace to a podium in race 2 with 3rd place, so well done, mate. What happened in qualifying for race 1? Was it a case of not being able to get a good lap in that saw you back at the starting in 20th for that first race?
Yeah, sort of just hopped on for qualifying, and thank you to Luke for providing a setup for the race. So I was just out on the race setup trying to change that to my liking, and yeah, I wasn't really too fussed about putting in a good lap. So yeah, sort of just, I think my lap time was just when I was moving out of someone's way, and yeah, I mean, it was good to come through the field, but yeah, unlucky with the connection thing, whatever happened there, and so his second race was just trying to stay with Stenny and Luke and Cole, and yeah, that was about it.
Yeah, it was great racing to watch in both races, especially to see you cut through the field in the first race, like you said, but also being able to hang on to the back of those guys at the front. How did you find your tyre life was going, did you feel, in comparison to Stenny and Luke Rosella, for instance?
Yeah, it seemed to be pretty good, but yeah, pitted quite a bit earlier than I think Luke and Stenny, so started to slide a little bit in the rear in the last few laps, so just had to back it off and try and keep the car under me for the rest.
So that's 2 rounds in a row where you've scored podium finishes. How are you feeling about this form going on through the rest of the season? Do you reckon you can keep it maintained through the rest of 2022?
Don't know about podiums, but yeah, top 5s definitely. It's yeah, it's real competitive when Dane and Ethan and Stenny, Luke and Cole are all battling at the top, and it was, yeah, good to have Brody Steen back as well tonight, so congrats to him on 5th.
Yeah, great point as well there. It was good to see Brody Steen in the second race, and like you said, a great result for him, but also a great result for yourself, mate. Congratulations. Podium position for you in the second race. Well done.
Yeah, thanks.
Stairs?
Our race winner for race 1 and race 2, Luke Rosella. First wins on the board for this year, and first wins on the board for someone whose name isn't Dane Warren. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's taken a while, has it? Yeah, I've never been really fast around here, but yeah, it's really good to get the clean sweep of the weekend. The dock was fantastic. Not as quick as Cole and Stenny in like maybe the first 5 or 8 laps of the stint, but towards the end it was really, really good. If yeah, compared to them, so it was really, really good.
Yeah, we saw you had the outright pace getting pole in both races, but you know, through strategy and the better starts from some of your competitors, you had to fight back quite a few times.
Yeah, I did. Race 1 was pretty interesting. Stenny did his best to have me off in the weeds, which is good. Every race. But yeah, no, it was fun. Like, it's really hard to overtake here, so if you place your car well, it's nearly impossible. But yeah, he made a bit of a mistake in race 2, and I sent it and forced him wide. Sort of gets him back for what he did to me a few times in that race, but no, it was good fun. Yeah, we're all really close on pace, so it's always going to produce a pretty tight and fun race, so it was good.
Oh, congratulations, Luke. Any highlights from the race? You've mentioned a few already, but anything that stands out?
The rear sponsors on Stenny's car, they were good highlights.
I saw a bit of them, but he also saw some of your rear sponsors, so congratulations on making that happen.
No worries, thanks.
All right, so that's our lot for our podium sitters, Maddie. Thank you to all of them for joining us and sharing their views.
Yeah, thank you very much, and congrats again to our 4 podium sitters for tonight, and to everyone else. Great results all around. 20 cars in the field, as I was saying earlier, is a really good turnout for ASC, and it's been a great night of racing here at Winton, hasn't it, Stairs?
It certainly has, and our appreciation, of course, to you for jumping in at late notice when Madbird couldn't do it. I'm sure he'll be rearing to get back, but we really appreciate you being able to jump in and join the broadcast.
It's great fun, mate. If you need someone on hand to step in and babble for a few hours over some car racing, I'm more than happy to. Don't you worry. It was great fun, and it was good to be with you all.
No worries. And our apologies that we couldn't get the graphic updated just in time, but Matt Dunlop, Matty joined us for commentary tonight. So our next outing will be in 1 month time. We're going to Hidden Valley for another track that has delivered in the past and promises to have some fantastic racing. So don't miss that, June 20th. And that is the 6th round of the Automobilista Supercars Championship. We'll see you then. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Bye for now.